Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in to my first ever live stream. Y'all have made me so excited. I can't tell you how happy I am right now. So, for those of you, if anyone's tuning in and you don't know me, I am a classically trained fine art quilter who specializes in imaginative realism, specifically steampunk, as you can see from my quilts around me. I've been working with fabric as a medium for 17 years, and during that time, I've developed my own unique process for digitally designing my fused applique quilts and using a machine to cut the fabrics. Today, I'm going to be cutting the fabric for the Roadrunner in my latest quilt design, and this is the template. The Roadrunner is the bird. He's made from almost 1,000 pieces of fabric. Yes, you heard correctly. Almost 1,000 pieces of fabric. And we're going to see how many of them we can cut in today's live stream. Now, before we get started cutting, I want to take a minute to talk about why I'm doing this live stream. As far as I know, this is going to be a first for the quilt world. I don't know of any other art quilters, let alone any who use digital cutting machines, who broadcast any part of their creative process in this fashion. But I want to do this for a couple of reasons. First, I want to help other quilters benefit from cutting machines by showing what's possible. My Savior Scissors Cut with a Cricut class is my most requested class, so I know that there are other quilters out there who want to know about this technology. That's why I chose this specific process to be the subject of today's live stream. The second reason I'm doing this event is to generate interest in my new Patreon. And I'm sorry this box that you're seeing at the bottom of the screen isn't clickable, but there is a hot link in the description down below. Live streams like today's event are going to be a regular monthly event for my subscribers. In addition, patrons will get early access to future blog posts and access to monthly Patreon exclusive videos. This is content that will be very valuable to anyone wanting to learn, but the truth is that I don't have the time or resources to make videos and host more live streams for free. Between setup, writing, recording, and editing, there is a lot of time involved, and that time takes away from making new quilts and my day job, which pays for the quilting in the first place. Behind the scenes videos, direct Q&As, live streams, even full classes are all things I would love to provide the quilt community. Please consider supporting my Patreon and helping to make those things possible. And if you've already gone to my Patreon, you will see that there's currently no exclusive content on it. So here I am asking you to consider subscribing, and I have nothing posted up there. I get how ridiculous that sounds, believe me. The truth is that preparing for today's live stream took literally my entire week. I have submitted a big fat 0 for billable hours so far this week. I do have the first early access post and the first video almost ready. I just ran out of time to put a professional polish on them before today's event. They're going up on Monday and Tuesday next week. And the first 10 people who take a chance on me can subscribe under the Explorer tier, which is all of the content for half the price for the lifetime of your subscription. So thank you for considering it. One last thing before we get started. There is a 20-second delay approximately between what I'm doing in real life and what you all are seeing on the stream. So please keep that in mind if you're commenting or asking questions. I might need you to be more specific so I know how best to answer. And I'm going to try and read questions out loud before answering so that you all know what I'm referring to, since the delay does go both ways. All right, that's enough with the public service announcements. Let's cut some fabric. I'm going to start by switching over to Design Space and my own camera. So Design Space is the Cricut software. And one of my own webcam that you're seeing me on is connected to my monitor. So I had to push that back away from me or else it'll be in one of the later shots. So, all right, the Cricut software is called Cricut Design Space. And I design all of my own artwork. I design everything that that I need to upload today to cut, I have designed. So the first thing I need to do is upload a custom image. So upload on the left, upload image, and I'm going to drag and drop my very first SVG file. There we go. Roadrunner 02 of 12. Cut image. Oh, they've updated this since I last used it. Looks a little different. All right, upload, and then I select that, and then it's going to drop my SVG on the design space. So glad to know that I have a day job. Yes, Karen, I do have a day job. I work as a freelance graphic designer. And since I'm freelance, I'm not salary. So if I don't work, I don't get paid. But it's kind of cool. I actually work for a NASA contractor here in Melbourne, Florida. And this kind of bugged out. Let's try and insert that again. It looked like it pulled in 2 SVGs at the same time, which has never happened to me before. All right. One file selected, insert images. The software that I use to create my design is Adobe Illustrator. So what the files that I'm uploading right now, like this one that I'm dragging around the design space, that is an SVG that I exported from Adobe Illustrator. Because an SVG is a vector format, Adobe Illustrator gives me the ability to save files in that format if I choose to do so. It's not a file format that you want to work in, like do all of your design in if you can help it, because it is limited in what sort of things it supports. But so if you're using Illustrator, you want all of your design to be done in an Illustrator format. But otherwise, exporting to an SVG is the only way to get a vector file format into the Cricut software. So that's what I am uploading right now. I will get to, I see there's a question on there about Mod Podge. I will get to that once we get the Cricut started cutting, because I'm not going to be able to do anything until it's done with the first layout. So we'll come back to the Mod Podge question. So what I've done in the Cricut design space so far is just collapsed the group. And I'm going to delete these 2 basic cut circles. These circles are what I call corner circles. And you can see one of them in the top left here next to the X. If I click off, it looks like just a little black dot, and I'm circling it with my mouse, with my cursor. Those corner circles, the other one is in the very bottom right of this, of the whole file that I imported. Those corner circles ensure that my design gets uploaded at the correct size. So this design is exactly 11.5 inches wide by 23.5 inches tall, because that's the size of one Cricut sticky mat. And I want to make sure that what I'm cutting is actual size and hasn't been scaled. The way I ensure that is by including these corner circles to force the design to be the correct size. Now, these corner circles are for reference only. They do not need to get cut. So I delete them once the file's uploaded. Delete. And now, this next step is very important. I need to weld down here in the bottom right. I need to weld all of these pieces together, because if I click make it before doing that, look what happens. The Cricut software is going to very helpfully split my design apart by colors. It's going to put each color on its own sticky mat, which is not at all what I want. I want them all on the same mat. So the only way that I can force the Cricut software to keep them all together is to weld them together. And now they're going to all go to the same color. I see you guys are asking a whole bunch of questions, which is awesome. I want to get the Cricut machine started cutting, because we're going to have to wait until it's done cutting to load the next design, and there will be some downtime. So I will come back to all of your questions as soon as we get the machine started. Okay, so now that all of these pieces have been welded together, we're going to click Make It. And what you see on the software right now is the preview. So I'm going to use this preview to line up my fabric pieces on the sticky mats. So for now, I'm going to switch to the top-down camera. Okay, so you should still see me. You should see my work table now. And I've got a very fancy Cricut cam that I'm very excited about, that will show a up close and personal view of what the Cricut software is doing, or what the Cricut machine is doing. Okay, So I don't have enough real estate on the screen to share the Cricut software and my work table and the Cricut cam and me. So you pretty much saw everything about the software. We're going to jump back to it real quick before I actually hit the go button on the Cricut machine. But for now, I need to line up my fabrics on the sticky mat. So these are two brand new sticky mats, and they come with like a protective acetate cover. So I'm just pulling off the acetate cover for now, and I slide the acetate cover. You can do whatever you want with yours, but this is actually my sewing table, and this rectangle right here normally drops down so that my sewing machine can sit there. The sticky mats get caught on this lip, so I use the acetate to kind of give them a smooth feed on the way out. All right, I've got my sticky mat. This right here is the number match sheet. These sheets are printed versions of what we just uploaded to the Cricut software. So I'm going to use this sheet as reference of what colors go where, because there are probably about 15 different fabrics that I need to line up for this one. Here's my stack of prepared fabric. So let's see. First up, we've got red R1, and that's this one. So this fabric has been pre-prepared with the Mod Podge, which I know a couple of you have asked questions about. We're going to talk about that, I promise. These were prepared yesterday. And side note, because I did mention Patreon at the beginning, my very first video is a video on how to do this Mod Podge technique. It's the first time I've ever documented the process in video. So that I recorded myself doing these fabrics, treating these fabrics this week. And that is going to be my first video as soon as I edit it together. I did not get to do that before today's event. So now I've peeled the paper off the back. The paper has to come off, otherwise the fabric will not stick once it's being cut. The paper gets tossed, and then I'm going to reference the preview in the Cricut software, make sure I'm lining this up correctly. So that goes in the top square. All right, next up we've got red 2. So these red and then the blue colors I'm going to put down in just a moment. These are for the Roadrunner's eye. They actually have a very colorful patch behind their eye that's red, blue, and white. And I did not know that until I started designing this picture, but it means I needed a whole bunch more colors than I was anticipating. And I'm hoping everything goes smoothly so you guys get to see some really good cutting. But because I'm talking and trying to do stuff at the same time, there's a very high likelihood that I will mess up. So you might get to see me have to fix some errors too, which would be exciting. For you anyway, it would be not so exciting for me. Okay, next we've got eye ring. This is a bright gold ring that goes around the Roadrunner's pupil. Again, not something that I knew they had until trying to draw a Roadrunner myself. And so let's see. These layouts that have the small pieces they always take a really long time because there's so many to line up. Eye ring 2, that's this one. And let's see. 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm matching the grid on this sticky mat up to the grid in the preview so that I know that I'm lining things up correctly. Because the last thing I want is for a cut to happen and be on the mat itself because I didn't put things in the right place. All right, we've got iris 2. Here's iris 1. The iris, that is the Roadrunner's iris. So they have like a brown iris and then this neon yellow ring and then the black pupil. It's actually a very interesting looking eye. And let's see where I'm. Did I mess something up? Oh, I did. I skipped one. See, I get to talking and I skipped one. I need white. White goes in there. And white goes on 8. Okay, what's next? Blue. Blue 1. So I have learned my lesson. The very first time that I was trying to cut with the Cricut, I did not make the connection to there being a very convenient grid on these sticky mats. None of my pieces were lined up by grid, and I had no way to figure out how much color of fabric I needed for each one. And then it was really difficult to line everything up on the grid. So now I do everything by the grid in Illustrator because it makes this part of the job so much easier. All right. We got the blues, Iris 2, that's this color. Susan, I know. Susan commented that she's looking at a photo of a Roadrunner now, noticing all these things. It's amazing what you'll notice when you start paying attention to details. And in my case, the more details it has, the more fabrics and the more pieces that have to be involved. So it does complicate things quite quickly. That's Iris 3. That's over here under the 8. And so you can see that these fabrics are mostly lined up in order on the grid. That's by design. I have learned my lesson about making fabrics or putting pieces all over the place because they really it gets out of hand very quickly. All right, eye patch 1. This is the white that goes behind the Roadrunner's eye. And we're down here on 5. Yep. And eye patch 2. So the reason there's like red 1, red 2, eye ring 1, eye ring 2, white, iris 1, iris 2, iris 3, blue 1, blue 2 is because I design highlight, midtone, and shadow into all of my pieces. And some of them, like these, they're too small for me to get highlight, midtone, and shadow. So I've just got like highlight and shadow. Let's see, this goes on 4. But that's why there are so many different colors here. And you'll hear me say eye ring 1, eye ring 2. 1 is always the highlight. And then it gets progressively darker through however many. Am I even doing the right one? No, I'm not. See, my mouth is running away with my brain. Mouth 1. Okay, that's over here. This is for the Roadrunner's open mouth. And this is on 8 and 5. 5 and 8. Now we need, what's this big one? Black 3A. I think that's this. Yes. I had to special order black batik from Hancock's of Paducah. It is not easy to find black batik fabric that is just solid black, but with the weave of a batik. 8 down. But the reason I use batiks is because they cut so much more cleanly. It is much easier to prevent fraying on a batik fabric than a print fabric. So actually all of the fabrics we're using today are batik fabrics. And let's see, mouth 2. That's this one. This is a very colorful board. Mouth 2, let's see. What is that, 8? Yeah, 8 and 11. Right here. All right, and that's the last one for this setup. It's the last one for this arrangement. So Cricut is on. Now I'm gonna use my Briar roller here to burnish these down. We want them nice and good and stuck. All right. So there's that, and now it's back to the software for a moment. Let's switch to, all right, design space. We are back. I enlarged it a little bit so I could see the preview more clearly. Okay, so at the top of the screen, I have the warning that basically the design I've uploaded it won't fit on the smaller mat. I have to be using the bigger mat which we're going to get that every time because all of these layouts today are for the larger 12 by 24 mat. So just hit OK on that and hit continue. And now is a very important part. I need to choose the blade pressure setting. So the goal is to get a kiss cut. A kiss cut is when the blade cuts through the fabric but does not cut the mat underneath. It's like the holy grail of digital cutting. You want the kiss cut if you can get it. These favorite, like these starred, pre-programmed, gosh, my words left me. These are representative of some pre-programming pressure settings that I put in the machine or into the software. These are pressure settings that I've developed, and if you want to see them, I can't pull them up at this point. I have to do it when we're back, like editing the design in the design space, but I can pull them up and show you what my pressure settings are. They're also published in the SOCWA journal, if any of you saw that this past month. But these are settings that I have messed with and tweaked to get as close to a kiss cut as I can. So we are using all single layer batik fabrics on this design. So we're going to select fabric batik 1 layer. All right, and now it's ready to load into the machine. So I will switch us back to the 3 camera setup, load this in the machine, and then we're going to wait for it to cut. And as soon as this light flashes, oh, that's actually off the screen. There's like a start button on the right. When I pressed it, we should be going. Yes, we are good. Okay. So now we wait for the machine to do its thing. And then what's going to happen next is once it's done cutting, I will remove the design and we'll get the next sticky mat ready. I'll start the next sticky mat cutting, and then we'll remove the fabric pieces from the one that it's cutting right now. So I like to go back and forth between 2 sticky mats this whole time. All right, so while it's doing that, let's take a look at some of the questions you guys have in the chat. Ilsa, very good to see you again. What else we day job. Yes, we talked about my, I do graphic design work for NASA is my day job, or for a NASA contractor anyway, but what software do I use to create my design? All of my designs are first hand drawn in Concepts app, which is a vector drawing app on my iPad. And the reason I use Concepts is specifically because it's vector. I can export my designs as SVGs from my iPad and import them into Illustrator, and they're still completely editable. So Concepts is the first software I use because that's where I do all of my drawings. And then Illustrator is the second software, and that's where I do all of my color and design overlap, and then, you know, break everything apart for the Cricut. How I get my design into an SVG. Illustrator lets me just save directly to an SVG right from the software. So once I have all of my artboards set up with, you know, the arrangement that we just did, basically, I save those artboards as SVGs, and that's what I've uploaded to the Cricut software. The Mod Podge that I use either the matte Mod Podge or the fabric Mod Podge. And I usually just go with whichever one is least expensive. You can get them, I get them at Walmart and Joann Fabrics if I have a coupon. So they're usually pretty inexpensive. I don't like to purchase the really big containers of the matte Mod Podge. You can, they're the best, you know, value for your money. You get them, you know, they're the least expensive per ounce of Mod Podge that way. But I find it a little difficult to measure. So it's easier for me to go with the 8-ounce or the 16-ounce containers, because mixing up one batch of diluted Mod Podge is usually more than enough that I'll need for any one project. So I wouldn't want to mix up more than that at a time anyway, because I don't really have a way to store it. The matte ultra spray. She says that the matte ultra spray and the fabric version she has tried, and they both are pliable when they dry. That means these fabrics are pretty pliable too. They're a little papery at the moment until you know, remove the backing, but you can see I'm folding it over. Well, actually, you can't see, that one's dark or light. This one, you know, I can fold it in half. I've folded over the corner there, rolled it. They're very pliable still. They're a little bit like on their way to being papery, but it's really not that bad. Other programs that allow you to save and export in SVG format. SVG format is an open format, so pretty much any vector software is going to work with SVG. Oh, the machine's done. I haven't even gotten through all your questions yet, and it's all finished. You can see the machine's much faster than I am, that's for sure. So like Inkscape is the most full-featured free vector software that's currently available. It runs on SVGs. Its base file format is SVG. Another vector software, the Affinity Designer, I think. It's a fairly inexpensive software for graphic design and vector artwork. It will also let you save and export as SVGs. So SVG is kind of the standard base level open vector format. Is it possible to import Photoshop files? Yes, you can upload JPEGs, PNGs. I don't think Cricut takes PSDs. I would have to check on that. But your basic JPEGs, it might take TIFFs. I'm not sure. It definitely takes JPEGs. I myself have uploaded JPEGs. So yes, I prefer the SVGs because I end up with a slightly cleaner cut. There are some extra steps that you have to go through if you upload a JPEG, but yes, I myself have done it, and I've made a perfectly good, actually classy is the artwork. It's on my website if you want to. It's on the new website design. It's in the transition year gallery, but classy is the first fabric artwork I created that was uploaded to the Cricut software as JPEGs. It's the only one I've done like that because I realized the SVG was a better way to go after, but it's doable, and I've made a picture from that process myself. Do you have to use Illustrator? What other formats can you use? I think we talked about that a little bit. If you're gonna do a lot of intense digital design, Illustrator is the way to go. When I have a blog post on my blog that is a review of Illustrator versus CorelDRAW versus Inkscape versus Affinity Designer. I think I looked at all four of those. Or I'm sorry, I was looking at CorelDRAW, Inkscape, and Affinity Designer compared to Illustrator because Illustrator is what I use. And it's a pretty in-depth look at the tools that I use in Illustrator, and I was trying to see if those tools and features were supported by the other three software. So those other three, Corel, Affinity Designer, and Inkscape, are the best alternatives, but nothing really comes close to Illustrator in terms of capabilities. So if you're interested in streamlining your work and having the most efficient workflow you need Illustrator. If you're interested in spending the least amount of money, get Inkscape. That's basically the either or, but I talk about it a lot more in depth on my blog post if you want to take a look. What other formats? I'm assuming you mean upload formats. So again, JPEG, PNG, SVG. You'd have to look and see what other formats it takes. I've not explored any other options besides JPEG and SVG. And can you draw by hand and upload? Yes. In fact, that's how I did Classy. All of the pieces were drawn by hand, mashed together on one sheet of paper. And then I had to go into Photoshop and break them apart and arrange them by a grid because I realized I wasn't going to be able to cut the way that I had actually drawn them. But yes, you can draw your artwork and then scan it in and upload a JPEG. It works just fine. Let's see. What brand of fusible I use? I use Wonder Under. And it's very easy to remove the backing once it's been on there for a while. You just roll the corner and it'll peel right off. And yes, every backed up fabric is labeled. I'm not sure how well you can see this, but it says mouth 3 right there. Oh no, I lost one. Okay, no, we got it back. We saved it. We're good. Yes, I write on the back what all the fabric are. So today, here, I'm gonna eject this and get started on the next layout. Um, so today I have actually 53 different, or 54, I think, different fabric swatches to cut. So there would be no way I could keep them all straight in my head without the labeling the back. So yes, that's what I do. I don't only use batiks. I do occasionally use a print fabric. This is actually the first picture I've done where I don't have any prints. It's difficult to find all of the colors that I need in batik, but I lucked out with this one. We're actually in really good shape. And I'm very happy that so far I've been able to find all batiks because they do cut much more cleanly. Let's see. Okay. I see I'm going to stop before answering Marcia's question and queue up the next design, and then I'll go back and answer a couple more questions while transferring the pieces we just cut onto this number mat sheet. So back to the Cricut software. If you guys want to see the Cricut software again, let me know, but otherwise I'm just going to go through it real quick without screen sharing and just upload the next design so we can keep things moving a little bit. All right, we're doing the next Roadrunner layout. Upload, we've got, let's see, it looks like mouth, beak, and beak. Beak 2, beak 3. Yes. Oh, and beak 1. Okay, we're going to have 4 swatches on this one. Almost. All right, deleting the corner circles, welding, make it. All right, now I look at the preview to see where these all go. Oh, I forgot weld. I said I was doing it and then I didn't do it. Okay. Basic cut. Well, hang on a second. It did weld. Okay, there we go. I don't know what that was about. It tried to separate them all into different artboards again. And I was like, what? No, we want them all on the same artboard. Thank you very much, Cricut. So now this one goes in the top corner vertically like that. Yes. All right, I'm gonna lay that down. And then as soon as this starts, we get to the very exciting part, which is lifting off all of the scraps that are the scrap is the material that's around the pieces that I actually want to keep, and seeing how well the Cricut did. But I think it did pretty well. I think it did a really good job. We're gonna see. All right, so this starts at 6. We'll line that up. There we go. And now we're on this one, beak number 2, and it starts at 10. Really? 10? Yeah, okay. I would have expected it. My usual arrangement, I would have guessed that it would start at 9, but I actually bumped it down an extra square. That's why we look at the preview to make sure everything goes in the right place. Okay, and this goes at 14. And before the stream started, about 10 o'clock today, I realized that I had cut 2 pieces to the wrong size, so I've already had to redo some mistakes today, which is par for the course. Cutting days never go completely smoothly. All right, let's get this one started. So again, all batiks loaded in the machine. Get this sticky mat out of the way. And batik 1 layer. Start. All right, here we go. Are you ready? This is the exciting part. Yay, it's working. Look at that. Tiny little pieces. So these are all my scraps, and I have so many ideas for my Patreon, you guys. I'm really excited about it. I hope it works out. And these scraps I'm saving because I think when I get to the point of having multiple tiers, that I will offer like an auction of my scraps, because look, I've got a whole drawer full of past cut fabric scraps. And they all are treated against fraying. They all have fusible on the back. Like, they would be perfect for someone who wants to do an improv quilt, because you just cut them up and iron them down. And right now they're just in my drawer and I will never use them. So that might be something that I do with them in the future. All right, look, it's working so well. It's always fun to see these clean cuts. Makes me happy. Makes me very happy. And so another reason I like batiks is that the Wonder Under tends to not stick to the mat. There is a little bit that I'm gonna have to scrape off, but for the most part, you can see on this one, see how it's an evenly lighter color than the dark? It's lighter because there's fusible on it. So the fusible does tend to stick to batiks better than print fabrics. So there we go. And now these all go in my scrap drawer. Put them in there. And now we lift pieces from this sticky mat over to this number mat sheet. I'm going to pull it down a little bit and put my keyboard up there. And on this number mat sheet, you know, there are no words on the file that I upload to the software, because it's actually, that one's really fine. I'm gonna have trouble sewing that one. There are no words uploaded to the Cricut software because I don't want the Cricut software to cut words. I only want it to cut these shapes. So the number mat sheets are the exact layouts, and you can see I'm moving the pieces over to pretty much their exact positioning, except on this paper. And on the number mat sheet, they have their number printed next to them. So when I go to do the assembly, I'll know what the numbers are, and we'll be able to line the pieces back up to the template when I iron everything together. Just wait till we start doing some feathers. It's going to be a lot of the same piece. We're doing the unusual, like the individually drawn pieces right now, whereas the feathers, I designed the feathers a little bit differently from the way I normally do my templates. Each feather, like there are types of feathers, and then there might be 15 of the same type of feather. So the feathers have a letter associated with, like, I think I have 25 different feathers, differently shaped and colored feathers. But of those feathers, there are, you know, sometimes as many as 30 of a single type of feather. So those number mat sheets don't have individual numbers per piece. They're just like a letter next to a group of feathers. We'll get there. Okay, Marcia, while I'm moving these, let me answer your question, which was, how can I get an original hard copy drawing to be an SVG? The short answer is you don't, because the original hard copy drawing, like if you draw on paper, if you scan it, it's going to scan as a raster format. It's going to scan as a JPEG. Even if you scan it as a PDF, which does support vector, it's going to scan as a raster format. So the only way that you could get your original hand drawing to be an SVG and have it be vector artwork would be to redraw it digitally, which is why I just start with Cricut or with Concepts on my iPad the whole way. I do my original drawings as vector right from the beginning, and that way I don't have that extra step in the middle. And then the second part, and how do you plan the overlap? So I have a blog post about designing overlap. You might have to go back. I published it. I can't remember when I published it. I've been publishing 1 to 3 blog posts a month for quite a while, so I don't quite remember how far back it was, but it's called something along the lines of, oh, I need that piece back. The blog post is called something along the lines of designing overlap in Illustrator. So it should be pretty apparent. So this, I'm going to hold that thought for 1 second because I just noticed that I was missing a piece right here and it wasn't on the sticky mat. So I went back and I grabbed the scrap and it just got stuck. It got stuck in there a little bit. So I had to go and pop it out, rescue it. There we go. So that's another reason why these number match sheets are nice, because I know if I'm missing a piece. All right. So back to what I was saying about planning overlap. Basically, it's something I just have to go and do for each individual piece. It's just part of my design process. And because I'm not working in Illustrator right now, I can't demonstrate on how I do that. But my hope is that I will do future live streams where I am working in Illustrator and working in Concepts, and whomever's tuning in will get to see me draw live and edit my artwork live, just like we're doing this today. And so hopefully it will be much clearer down the road. But for now, all I can do is direct you to that blog post where I talked about designing overlap in Illustrator. Okay. Did you had one more? Oh no. Okay, that was the end of your question. So let's go back to the number match sheet here. So this is how my artwork is, or these pieces are stored between now and when I go to assemble them, but I don't want them to go all over the place in the lightest wind. So what I do is take page protectors, just standard heavyweight page protectors, and lay them over the top. And the page protectors are heavy enough that they will help flatten the pieces out a bit, but also hold them in place in a slight breeze. So that's it. That's how the pieces get stored. And now I'm just going to transfer this top sheet to my work table behind me, and we'll move on to the next one. Okay, very carefully pick it up so I don't drop it. There we go. One down, 10 more to go. Okay, and then to make sure I use my entire artboard, or the entire sticky mat, I do rotate it. So I rotate it each time. All right, let's get the next one queued up, and then I'll keep answering questions while I lift off pieces from this artboard, or this sticky mat. Words are getting all jumbled. Okay, so we're gonna finish that design, delete it out of Cricut design space, delete, okay, upload the next layout, which is number 3. And oh, we're gonna start doing some feathers. There are so many feathers to cut because each feather has 3 colors. 3 colors. Yeah, even the Cricut software is like, you're gonna need to wait because this is a big file. Okay. Of course, I'm also, asking my computer to run the Cricut software and do this live stream, plus record the live stream. So it's not like I'm, going easy on my computer at the moment. I forgot to weld again. All right, make it all on one artboard or sticky mat. Yes. Okay, so we've got, what have we got? Beak 4. That's that one. Black 1, which does not look black at all, but that's because it's a highlight. And I'm guessing this is black 2. Yes, so let's go digging for black 2. There it is. Okay, so week 4 is at the top. Peel paper off. Week 4 at the top. And this goes like that. Sideways like that. And I'm pressing from the center out to try and make sure that there's no bubbles, because if there's bubbles and the fabric isn't touching the sticky mat, there's no friction. So it can't stay attached and cut properly. 7, let's see. Down, I can't see. 2, 4, 6, 7, and we're sideways. Like that. This one has a lot of jaggy spikes on it, so it'll be interesting to see how well that one cuts right there. And then this is the last one, black number 2, which is like my mid-tone black. And let's see, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yes. Okay. There it is. Press, press, press. All right, burnish with the briar. I gotta hit this first. Load it in the machine. There we go. Oh, we peeled up a little bit. I did not see that happening on the Cricut cam. That's okay. I might need to get out my scissors and do a little snipping, but that's all part of the learning process for you guys. I forgot a very critical thing at the beginning of this whole process. I forgot to change my blade. So I like to make a point of always changing my Cricut blade at the beginning of every project, because I never remember how long it's been since how much stuff has been cut with the blade. So this one might not be dull at all. It sure has a lot of lint on it though. So we're gonna toss it, put a new one in there, and hopefully that will help things cut in the future. These blades are not Cricut standard blades. I buy third-party blades. Bridgecutters.com is what the package says, although I do get them from Amazon.com. They are the fancy steel ones that are supposed to last longer. Tungsten steel, maybe? I forget off the top of my head. But anyway, I buy off-brand, but the carbide steel, I forget. They're not the standard blades though. They're like the stronger ones that last longer. Anyway, let's get this going. And now we'll lift off this and I'll answer another question. So I said my Sokwa article not to use the rotary blade. Yes, I did. Cricut does say that's for fabric. So I have test driven a Cricut maker and ended up returning it to the store because the rotary blade is not for me. The rotary blade will not work for this stuff. And the reason is the rotary blade is far too imprecise. I need a fine point blade. So the fine point blade can get in and cut all of these little details, whereas the rotary blade is just going to shred the design. And that's what happened the one time that I tested it. So the rotary blade would be good, is good for fabric because it will cut without requiring fusible on the back. The fusible is required to cut with the fine point blade because it adds extra friction against the sticky mat. So that's the scoop on the rotary versus the fine point blade. Well, Adobe Elements will work as a photo editor. So if you say do some hand drawing and then scan in your drawings, you can edit them in Adobe Elements, make sure they're the right size and that everything's lined up according to the grid, all that. Yes, you definitely can do that. Adobe Elements is a vector editing program though, so it will not work for, I'm sorry, Adobe Elements is a raster editing program, not vector. So it's not going to be your best bet for vector software. let's see. All right. We've got to make a little bit of snips because I don't think there's any way for me to, well, I'll hold it up. I apologize if it's not in focus. I don't think there's anything I can do about it. There's a good section of fabric in between my thumbs here that did not cut because the blade skipped. So there's no cut for about 3/4 of an inch. So instead of, redoing the piece and sending it back through the Cricut and everything, I get out my trusty pair of scissors and start making some snips. And I do my best to match to what's supposed to go on. Let's see, it's this part. So it's just a bunch of wavy up and downs. I can wing that. So what my dad would call this the illusion of perfection. So, because it's imperfect because I'm doing it by hand, but no one looking at the finished quilt is ever going to know that this piece didn't quite cut correctly. So I'm just making a couple snips, and there we go. It won't perfectly match to the this section, but it's going to be good enough, and no one is ever going to know. And it looks like the same thing kind of happened right here. So look, you guys are getting to see me have to fix some mistakes here. This is really good for you. This always bugs me when this happens because it slows everything down, but it is a good learning process. All right, all cleaned up. Wow, I just trimmed the scrap. You can see my brain is divided at the moment, thinking about too much stuff. All right, so that goes there. These scraps go in the bin. And these get lifted off. So while I'm moving these, how much do I dilute the Mod Podge, and can it be stored diluted? I dilute my Mod Podge at a 3-to-1 ratio. So 3 parts water, 1 part Mod Podge. In other words, 8 ounces of Mod Podge mixed with 3 cups of water, and I use a 4-cup measuring cup to make up 1 batch. And yes, it can be stored diluted. And in the video, I kind of poke fun at myself. For those of you just tuning in, the video that I'm talking about is going to be my first Patreon exclusive video. I recorded myself doing the Mod Podge technique, mixing up the Mod Podge, ironing all the Wonder Under on the fabric, treating the Mod Podge. I ironed myself doing the whole thing. And once I get that edited together, it's going to go up on Tuesday for my Patreon patrons. So that's the video I'm talking about. But anyway, yes, you can store it diluted, and I poke fun at myself in that video because I store my Mod Podge in kombucha bottles, and it still says kombucha on the outside. So I have to make a point to in marker write real big on it, Mod Podge, not kombucha. Just I mean, they go in my closet. It's not like I'm storing them in the refrigerator, but still, I don't want someone to come along and think that they're edible, because they're very much not edible at that point. Okay, next question. When your quilt is finished with the Mod Podge and the Wonder Under, can I wash them, or is that not necessary? So washing is something you want to do to your fabrics before ironing the fusible on. You want to pre-wash your fabrics because the fusible and the Mod Podge will stick much better if all of the sizing is gotten out of it. Now, as far as washing after the fact, that's not something that I have ever attempted with my quilts because I don't know what would happen, and I don't want to risk one of them. I do know that the Mod Podge isn't going to wash out. It's going to be in there after it goes through the washing machine or hand washing. Oh, see, I'm missing another piece. I need that scrap back because one of them stayed in there. Yep, there it is. Okay, tiny little piece. So, if you do the Mod Podge technique and then wash your fabric, let me know how that turns out for you, because I would be very curious to know. Let's see. Katie wash them. Is it so? As far as your question, Elsa, is it necessary? It's not necessary for me because I pre-wash my fabrics, and then my quilts are intended to be artwork. So but it might very well be necessary for someone else. All right, get right past it up. This stream will be available to watch again. Yes, it is being recorded, and it will be posted publicly on my YouTube channel. It's probably not going to be available immediately because YouTube will need time to process it. So, but eventually it will be up available for viewing to the public. But future live streams are going to be a Patreon exclusive event. So this one is free today because I'm hoping to raise awareness for my new Patreon. But future Patreons or I'm sorry, future live streams are going to be exclusively a reward for my subscribers. But the reason I chose this topic today is because I knew a lot of people wanted to know about it, and so I wanted to share that information with you all. Ilsa, I don't see the link to the blog post, but yes, thank you very much for going to search that out and trying to share it with everyone. That is more than okay, and I very much appreciate your willingness to do that because it's not something that I'm capable of doing right at the moment. Oh no, we're missing another piece. I should really keep these out of this drawer until I make sure that everything is, oh, this one has a couple on here. All right, let's pop them off. There's one. Here's one. It's this toenail piece down here. And this one goes right in there. Oh no, what am I doing tweezers for this? These pieces get small. Ha ha ha. These are my favorite tweezers. Here, I'm gonna do them like that so you can see them. Because see how they have that notched like tweezer part? I don't know the technical name for that. Anyway, that makes them just so nice to use. These are actually modeling tweezers. They're for like putting ship models and airplane models and stuff together. But they work great for fabric, let me tell you. All right, one more strip up here. That big long piece up at the top. That's that. And I think we've got it all now. Yes. Okay, so this can go into the bin safely. Pop that out. Let's set that there. Okay, probably have time for another question before getting the next batch set up. So what type of paper is the number guide printed on? I go to the local FedEx ship and print shop, and they have a 35-inch or 36-inch black and white printer that's like for blueprints. So it's very thin paper, and it's just, black and white lines. I print my templates there too, but it's very inexpensive. I think it was maybe $30 to print all of these number match sheets, and there are 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 of them, plus my two templates. I want to say it's the frog. It's the lizard. I've had a couple people call it a frog, but he's a lizard. The lizard template and the Roadrunner template, full size, and that's great for me because then I don't have to do tiling off of my own 11 by 17 printer because that is a really big pain in the bum. So I don't like dealing with tiling if I can avoid it. So I know that if you look for blueprint prints, that's the kind of printer that you'd want to use. And like I said, my FedEx has a HP, I think it is HP T3500 that I go in and like just plug in my USB drive, and I don't have to talk to a tech or anything like that. I can just go and do it off of the computer interface. Office Depot also has one of those printers, although Office Depot has been kind of weird for me. They've been getting fussy about not wanting to print artwork off of the blueprint printer, but I'm like, this is kind of like a blueprint for a quilt. So, it's not like I'm printing color. It's not like I'm printing big solid black areas that use up a lot of ink, So for me, it's just easier to go to FedEx. But that might be more of a people thing than a, company policy thing. So it may be going to another, oversized blueprint printer type locale out in your direction will work for you. Okay, very carefully move the pieces so they don't fly everywhere. I have so far in my career, fingers crossed, avoided major mishaps when it comes to pieces going everywhere. So let us try to keep it that way. All right, let me queue up the next design and then we'll go back to doing some more questions. So we're gonna delete that one. Upload the next one. Oh, the next one is just one big piece of fabric. I think it's the black 3B, which ought to be this. Yes. All right. Whoa, an hour's gone by already. I had no idea. You guys have been great, asking a lot of good questions. So just so you know, I was tentatively planning for a minimum of 2 hours, but if you guys are interested and enjoying everything that we're talking about, we'll keep going for a couple more after that. Or you guys might be like, yeah, we've learned everything we want. We're done here. And I'll be like, okay, then, you know, that's it for my Saturday. Looks like I'm missing some circles, corner circles. Well, it looks like this design is just over 8 inches wide. So let me make sure. Yep, it looks correct. I wonder what happened to my corner circles. Or maybe did I space cadet it and my mouth is running away with my brain. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. I deleted them and it didn't even register in my head that that's what I'd done. Oh boy, Kess. Oh boy. All right, this is a big project. This might take a moment. It is a big project, Cricut. Weld. Of course, like I said, it's not as though I've been easy on my on my CPU at the moment. It's doing a lot of stuff right now. Oh, come on, Cricut, you can do this. Do, do, do. Come on, come on. Weld. You can do it. You can do it. All right, we're welded. Click make it. Ah, yes, all on one mat. Excellent. That is what we like. There we go. Let's put that there. All right, Briar. Okay. Okay, continue. Load it in the Cricut. Then we get this one. Choose Fabric Batik Layer 1. Cut. Okay. Going, preparing, yes. Look at this, you guys. Oh, it cut almost all of them. There's just like one thread holding that one little feather on. Look at that. Oh, this makes me so happy. So happy. Okay, and I do know that there's this little one that needs a snip. I would be here forever and a day if I was cutting this stuff by hand. Seriously. All right, so that goes there. There's nothing else left on this one, so we can stash it. All right, let's see this one. This was another really jaggy one. Hey, so good. So good. Oh, I'm so happy. Okay. And something over there needs a little bit of a snip. Oh, that one got stuck. That goes there. Let's see. Oop. Yep, there's his nose. All right, let me give this a little bit of a snip. Sometimes you'll get, it's what happened here is that the blade. Let me see if I can put it against white so maybe you can see what's going on. So you can see that it's very cleanly cut, except for this one piece that's hanging on, and it's really just like 3 threads. There was a tiny little wrinkle in the fabric, and the blade just skipped and didn't cut those threads. So I'm just going to snip it with the scissors, and no one's ever going to know. No one will ever know. And I'm just snipping the thread right into my trash can so that it keeps the place clean. All right. There we go. Okay. So now this, I think we got everything. Yes. Okay. All right. And that was a nostril right there. So we're going to toss that little piece out. Okay. Let's see what other questions we've got. Let's see, we talked about that. Will this recording be on YouTube for future viewing? Yes, it will. It will be available publicly on my channel as soon as the YouTube servers process it once we're done with this live stream. So it won't be up immediately, but I will make another social media post about it when the recording is publicly available. And then at that point, anyone can come and watch it. But, the advantage to being here in person or, in person, watching me live doing this stuff is that you get to ask questions. So if anyone's watching the replay later on, they won't be able to ask any questions. Is each color a separate layer in Illustrator? So the way I do my Illustrator layouts is, let me think of the best way to describe this. All of the text goes on one layer. And then all of the pieces that are on the number match artboards goes on one layer. All of the pieces that are in the template, still arranged to look like the Roadrunner, in other words, all of that goes on one layer. So I don't separate the pieces by color by layer. I separate them more by what their purpose is. If they're on the number match sheet, that's one layer. If they're in the template, that's another layer. And I'll be able to demonstrate that better once, down the road, and I'm doing a live stream about drawing in Illustrator. All right, we answered the question about future viewing. So I cut, let's see, Ilse's question. So I cut the pieces approximately the size before I bring them on the mat. Cut the pieces approximately the size before I bring them on the mat. I'm honestly not quite sure what you mean, Ilsa. Do you mean the fabric? Cut the fabric pieces before I bring them on the mat? If you could clarify, I'm happy to answer your question, but I'm really not quite sure what you meant there. Is the Wonder Under on it before you cut the pieces manually to the size you need, or do you put the Wonder Under on after? So I'm going to assume that you're talking about these fabric swatches. I cut the Wonder Under first. And I know how much Wonder Under I need because I've arranged all of the pieces on my artboard, so I can just, look at the grid and see how big the size is. I cut out my Wonder Under swatches, iron the Wonder Under swatches onto the fabric, and then trim away that section from the rest of the fabric. And then that's what this is here. So I hope that answered your question, but if it didn't, feel free to ask a follow-up question and I'll do my best to explain. Do I block my quilts by getting them damp? I'm honestly not sure what that question means. I don't ever get my questions damp, or my questions. I don't ever get my quilts damp. So I'm going to go with no, because I'm not sure what that means, but my quilts are never wet. So I said earlier that I pre-wash all of my fabrics, and then I don't even use a basting spray. I actually baste my quilts with Wonder Under squares. So I hope that answers the question, but if it didn't, ask some more. Clarify down below. How can you tell if you were one of the first 10 for Patreon? There is a special limited number sign up, a tier. It's the Explorer tier. And it has a big, Explorer banner on it, and it says limit. Well, when we started, it was limit 10 of 10. And it says in the description that that's the tier where you get everything that's in the current top tier, which is the aeronaut tier, but for half the price. So the Explorer tier gets you the $10 value, but for $5 a month for as long as you stay subscribed. So as long as you keep your subscription from, here till forever, you're locked in at the half price value. And I did that specifically as a way to, say thank you, because I know that you're subscribing and taking a chance on me, and I appreciate the support. And so I'm willing to, say keep that appreciation going for as long as you stay subscribed. If anyone needs the link, I can paste it in chat. I forgot earlier at the intro that I could do that, but here is the hot link. It's also down in the description down below. Let me see where I was. Oh, y'all, that's my dad, Robert Michaud. He's tuning in to watch me. So happy. And he is actually the one who told me about the tweezers because he likes to build models. So tweezer brand is Tamaya. That is correct. And I think they're only like $10. They're really not expensive. I think I got mine off Amazon. And speaking of the tweezers, my sewing tools is going to be, or the blog post about my sewing tools is going to be the very first blog post that I share with early access to Patreon. Like I said, I haven't had a chance to go through and put all the finishing touches on it, but it is, that's what it's going to be. And it'll go up on Monday. And the tweezers are in there. It looked like there was a little bit of a glitch on the stream. I apologize for that. I'm not sure what that was about, but it looks like it might have fixed itself. So hopefully we're good. It's a plotter at FedEx. Diane Nunez. I'm not sure what you're referencing. It's a plotter at FedEx. Oh, Chari. I hope I'm saying your name right. Welcome to the live stream. I'm glad you made it back in time. And yes, my philosophy is as open as possible. I want to share all of the information. It's just with, doing these live stream events and making the videos is so time intensive. I unfortunately can't afford to do it without some compensation, because it just takes so much time away from the rest of my life. But as far as, blog posts will continue to go public on a delay after, Patreon gets their early access. And yeah, any time I do a live Q&A or give a presentation or host a class, whatever, I want y'all to get as much out of it as you possibly can. So that's my thoughts on that. Oh, NKQ55. Hi, Diane. Thank you so much for tuning in. My answer to Jane's question about colors and layers. So the way I set up my Illustrator files is more by purpose than by color, because it's not uncommon. I mean, I think I said that I had 53 swatches, and I have multiple swatches of the same color in some cases, but today alone, we probably have 30 different fabrics. And those 30 different fabrics are all a different color in Illustrator. And so having each one of those on its own layer would just be, that would be way too much for me to be able to handle. So what I do instead is keep my pieces on a layer by their purpose. So all of the artboards, like for the Roadrunner, actually, I know what I can do. Let me finish. Can I do that? Yes, I will just open the Illustrator file and share that with you guys, and that way you can see how the file's laid out. So let me finish getting these all lifted off of here, and we will take a brief aside from Cricut cutting to show you what the Roadrunner layout looks like. All right, almost done. And then if the stream gets choppy when I open Illustrator, we might have to shut it down right quick. Because like I said, I am asking a lot of my computer at the moment. Streaming in 1080p, running the Cricut machine. Yeah. Streaming. So almost done. Almost done. One more. And there we go. Let me get my page protectors. 1 and 2. One more. 3. Let's get this moved out of the way to safety. Okay, and Cricut is 87% done, so we actually are in a holding pattern for it anyway. All right, let me switch to design space. And 89% done. Let me pull up Illustrator, and it's gonna be a little janky because I only have the space to share that the Cricut software takes up. So I'm gonna have to keep this kind of zoomed out so that you can see what we're doing here. But let's go ahead and open the Roadrunner. Okay, so this is all one file, and I have my Roadrunner template and the breakdown of all the different types of feathers on the left, and he's full size. Like this whiteboard that he's on is the finished size, or the size of the completed quilt. So he is, he's a big bird. he's probably about 28 inches tall, so he's a good size. And then all of these vertical artboards, the vertical rectangles on the right, those are all of the layouts. Those are the artboards that have the pieces arranged, and those are the layouts that I've been uploading to the Cricut software. So the one that's cutting right now is this number 4, and next up will be it's this solid black one. That's what's in the Cricut machine right now. To show you the layers, let me open up that panel. Window, layers. There we go. And I'll pull this over. I'm gonna have to overlay this so that, oh, I'll put it down here a little bit. Okay, so you can see I've got numbers on the top and then pieces. Those are the individual pieces that are on all of my Cricut artboards to the right. And then overlap, that's the pieces that are overlapping. That's like my original artwork, the template over on the left. Corner circles, which we talked about a little bit at the beginning, and then the grid so that I know where to line everything up. So this is pretty much my standard layer organizational style for every file that I make. So I'm going to minimize that and close out layers and get ready for the next layout here. So there's that. And we got to rotate this around. And for anyone just tuning in, I will go ahead, since I've got the Cricut software up, I will finish this out and get the next one queued up, ready to go. Upload. I'm gonna delete that. I don't really store any of these SVGs up here because I, to be quite honest, wouldn't be able to keep track of them after a while anyway. This one, I mean, we're cutting the Roadrunner's feathers and stuff today, but the Roadrunner himself is 11 artboards, and then the lizard is 4 artboards, and I'm still in the process of working out the background and everything. This one quilt is probably going to have upwards of 40 artboards. So keeping them all in the Cricut software, like I'm never going to cut them again. There's no reason for me to store them up there. So I just make a point to delete them as I go. They're stored as SVGs on my computer, so it's not like the information has been lost. There's just no reason for me to keep it in the Cricut software. All right, insert. Delete the corner circles. I'm gonna weld. Okay, wait, it's not welded. That was weird. Maybe that's what happened to me before. I clicked weld and it didn't weld. Maybe there's a bug. A bug, because it's a Cricut. Anyway, sorry. Let's move on. I made a pun. My husband will be so proud of me. All right, we are on beige 2A. Really? It's not beige 1? Oh no, I see. I skipped a sheet. Beige 1. Beige 1. Let me switch layouts again so you can see the top down. Okay. And oh, this one, you can see the text on this one. Yeah, there's my label. RR Beige 1 for Roadrunner Beige 1. That's the lightest beige on the Roadrunner's fabrics. So paper goes in the trash. It has served its purpose. And hang on, do I need to clean this at all? No, I think it's okay. I'm hoping we get to a point where I need to clean these, because then you guys will get to see another step in the process, and that is cleaning your cutting mat. But it's actually in pretty good shape. I usually don't have to clean them until 4 or 5 cuts have gone over them, so we might be getting to that point. This is our 5th layout. Prior to get it all down there. Okay. I gotta hit that on the software to send it to the machine. Now load the machine. Load. I'll pull this one up front. And I choose Fabric Batik Layer 1 and hit cut. Okay. So that's going to get started. I'm going to peel this off. Oh, this one's, the Wonder Under's starting to stick to the mat a little bit, so I am going to have to scrape this mat, I think. But still getting pretty clean cuts. Look at that. So you can kind of see what I mean. These are all the same shapes down here. There's a good 30 or 40 of them. I may not be quite as precise about moving these to the paper because, like I said, the way I did these feathers, they don't have individual numbers because they're all just repeated the same shape. So let me get that off of there. But the cuts are clean, and that is the most important part. Let me set this. Oh, oh. All right. I get a drink. Talking a lot. Okay. So let's see, where were we? Awesome. You guys are the best. I just read a couple comments about you wanting to stick it out to the end. All right. Well, it makes me so happy. I'm so glad you guys are enjoying this and having a good time. All right, let's see. Hear more about, oh, custom blade settings. Okay, as soon as once that design's done, and I'm gonna need to make a note for myself. What is my next color? I'm gonna put it in a weird place so that I remember that the reason I put it there is because we need to talk about custom blade settings. So next up is gonna be, I think it was beige 2A. Okay, so let me move beige 2A to the chair behind me. That's 2B. There's 2A. And so the idea is, I'll be like, I need beige 2A. It's on the chair behind me. Why did I put it on the chair behind me? Oh, I need to talk about custom blade pressure settings. Let's see if it works. Let's see. Lee, you are very welcome, and I'm so glad you tuned in to learn from today's live stream. My Explorer is already sold out. Oh, you guys, that makes me so happy. Thank you so much. I honestly wasn't sure if it was going to be a really hard sell. That you know, I'm asking you to sign up, and there's nothing to show for it. But I promise that I'm good for it. Content's coming Monday and Tuesday. It just took such a surprising amount of work. I mean, I guess in hindsight, it's not surprising that this took so long to set up because I'm my own broadcasting studio, right? I'm videographer, I'm key grip, I'm lighting engineer, I'm audio engineer, I'm the tech person, making sure all the cameras are functioning. You know, makeup artist, I'm the writer, I'm the anchor, I'm the broadcaster, I'm the producer. I am holding all of these jobs, and all of it needed to be set up ahead of time. So it's probably not surprising that it took more time than I was anticipating to make today happen. And I guess compounding the problem is that I was also rolling out a complete new visual identity at the same time. So any of you who have gone to my website before yesterday, it looked completely different. It was very much, it was a lot more black and white, and now it is very purple and gold and Art Deco. And so I was making all of that happen this week with a lot of help from my husband because he's the one who actually programmed the website. So it's just been, it has been a very, very busy week. So I am just delighted that you all are learning and wanting to support me. That makes me so happy, and I'm just thrilled to keep doing this and have more live streams and more videos and more content for you guys. I'm sorry that you seem to have some trouble getting to the Patreon. I have no idea what was going on. I'm gonna try and lift some of these. Let's see if I can do a bunch of these at once. Yeah. So something we've not talked about, but will be on the tools blog post that's coming up, is my fingernails. You can always tell if I'm getting ready to do a quilt because I let my fingernails grow out. You can see them on the stream there. Look, my fingernails are growing out. And it's specifically so that I can lift up pieces off of a sticky mat. And also hold them in place when I'm doing appliqué because it's easier to not burn myself if I have, you know, like a little bit of a way to grip the fabric without it actually needing to touch my finger. All right, let's see. There's one row, yes. So let's get some more. This is what takes the longest time. It's just moving these pieces off of the sticky mat. My nose is running. I'm going to go to intermission real quick so I can blow my nose because I don't want you guys to pick that up on the audio. So I will be right back. Sorry about that. I think it's because I'm looking down so much. Anyway, we're back. Hands are washed, hands are clean, and we're back to lifting pieces off of the sticky mat. Okay. Oh, my puppy just came from, he was upstairs napping. Well, I call him a puppy. He's 10 years old. You want to see my dog? Revan, come here. Come say hi to the live stream, Revan. Here he is. There's Revan. He's my old guy. He's 10 years old. The puppy, my new one, he's a little over 4 months old, and he's currently sleeping next to my husband, so we're not going to wake him up. We're going to let him keep sleeping because once he's up, he's a terror, the Tibetan terror. They're Tibetan terriers, so we call him Tibetan terror when he's awake because he's just a nut. He is a nut. He was chewing on my curtains behind me this morning when I was setting up, you know, my black backdrop back here. The curtains stop about 8 inches off the ground, so they're perfect puppy chewing height. And he just had, you know, stars in his eyes when he was looking at these curtains. I had to keep him away. All right. And once again, the Cricut is waiting on me. That is a common theme with us. But I am so glad that I do not have to cut all these pieces by hand because, my goodness. And I honestly really don't even need to line them up, but I think it would bug me if they weren't lined up. But I'm going to stop being quite so careful about it because I want to keep this going. Oh, sticking together. Come on. There we go. I probably have some duplicates in there anyway. Yep, there's one more doubled up somewhere. Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. All right. What else can we talk about? Let's see. So, okay, Susan, you asked about keeping the feathers numbered. What I did, actually, let me switch back to Design Space and I will pull up that file again because I did not zoom in. So what I usually do, if I zoom in, you can see on the Roadrunner is that each piece gets a number. And that's how I know where that piece goes in the template. Makes sense. But because there were so many feathers, what I did instead was just keep track of what feathers go where and how many of them I used. And so what you see here, the letter above the feather, I'm going to just stack these. Yeah. They don't have numbers. They don't need to be perfectly lined up, Kestrel. Get over it. Okay. So the feathers, the letter on top is how I was denoting that particular feather. So, and then the black number is how many of those feathers appear in the template. So for example, there are 13 L feathers that are in the template. The red number is how many I'm cutting. So I've cut enough for 15 L feathers. And the reason I did that was because things shift. Things inevitably shift when I go to put them together. And so I wanted some extra feathers just to be able to cover up some bald spots, some bare patches that might show up when I go to assemble this whole thing. And the way the feathers go together, the black is on top. So the black is the skinniest piece. So what I'm lifting off right now, this is from the U. Let's see, where's the camera? Here, I'll hold it in front of my arm so you can see it. This is from the U feather. So this is the skinny black piece that goes up through the center. So it's going to go on top of the brown, and then the brown is going to go on top of the beige. So it's going to be a somewhat thick feather. But I did that because notice how the beige is in multiple pieces because it's the tips of all of the little feathery parts. I wanted to be able to cut the beige out of one piece of fabric. So that meant it had to go on the bottom because overlap, the beige is under the russet, so it got to be all one piece. The result is that in places, this bird is going to be a little bit thick. This THICC is going to be a thick bird. No, he's going to be thick layers wise. He's going to, he might be 9 to 12 layers in some, it won't be all over, but in individual spots he might be. So that's something my machine can definitely handle it, my Q20, but it is something that I'm going to have to pay attention to when I sew that, hey, we might have to put the hammer down on this section because we're punching through a lot of fabric. So that was the theory behind these feathers. The way I did these feathers is not something I've ever done before. So it was new as of this quilt because I usually do number each and every individual piece. I don't typically say I need 5 of this and 6 of this. So, but I think it's going to work out, and the bird looks fine even though I've reused a bunch of feathers all over the place. So let's see. Joyce Ferris, you have a silhouette and you're still here. I'm so excited. So I am not endorsed by Cricut. I own a Cricut, but they do not pay me to say nice things about them. So I say nice things about them because I like my machine, but I am actually also considering switching to Silhouette because of the shenanigans that the Cricut company pulled a month ago. That really did not sit right with me. But for now, there's nothing wrong with my Cricut, so I'm going to keep using it. And the Mod Podge technique that I use to keep my fabrics from fraying, it works on any cutting machine. It is not Cricut exclusive. So yeah, I'm hoping that this live stream is incentivizing you to use your own machine more because the technology is fantastic. And I really am just it was actually my mom who found out about cutting machines, and she came home and she was like, they have this thing called a Cameo at the store. You should Google it and see because it looked like it might have been they said it was for fabric. And I started Googling, and that's when I came across Brother and Cricut and found out that these machines have actually been around for quite a while. They've been around since like a year or two after I got out of college. I had no idea. And it was like kind of like finding the Holy Grail because I had been looking for some way to cut fabric without having to actually do the cutting of the fabric myself. And I was just completely like, I had stars in my eyes at that point. And I bought a Cricut machine for one reason only. I had read several reviews online that said that the Cricut makes the best sticky mats, and people with other types of machines still use Cricut sticky mats. So I bought a Cricut machine. They're not necessarily the best. Well, I don't think they're the worst because I've certainly had good luck with mine, but I mean, they are comparable to every other cutting machine on the market, which all work the same way they're basically CNC plotting machines that have a drag blade. They're just, branded for quilting. So, and other crafting. But yeah, I'm thrilled that there are other people here who do not have Cricuts and are still finding this all helpful because that's the goal. I want everyone to be able to benefit regardless of your cutting machine preference. Almost done. Actually, I guess I could switch back to the top-down view because we're done talking about the Illustrator for now, I think. And you can see, look at my loosening up as we went down the the artboard. Very regimented, big pile. I think I have conquered that particular thing that was holding me back, which is good because there are many more artboards like this one yet to come. The ghost of artboards yet to come. Okay, let's move this out of the way. Ooh, we're gonna have some fixing to do on these. Look, we've got some, see how the Cricut pulled the fabric up a little bit? There are a couple reasons that that may happen. One, the fabric may not have been stuck down to the mat, either because the fabric itself had a wrinkle, or I just didn't brayer it well enough, or who knows why. It's probably not the blade, because I did change the blade at the beginning of the project, so that removes one variable. It could be that the mat is not sticky enough anymore, so maybe we should do a mat cleaning session. I'm going to let this one go through one more time. I think it's still in decent shape, but we might, I'll take a look at that mat after we lift the stuff off of it. Hold up. I'm supposed to talk about, hey, it worked, even after I had to go blow my nose. We got to talk about Cricut blade settings. So let us briefly divert to Cricut blade pressure settings. I'm going to go back to the Cricut software. Boop. Wait, sorry, wrong one. Wrong button. Flash that Patreon sign. Okay, here we are. Canvas, delete old design. Let's pull up my custom blade pressure settings. So over here, we've got manage custom materials. And this is only going to work if you have a machine plugged in. So because the materials are custom to your machine. So if you're at home, trying this at home, plug in your machine or connect it Bluetooth and then manage custom materials. And there are many, many, many pre-programmed materials in here, but mine are all mixed in. Okay, let me remember what I called them. Okay, I put them in all caps and they show up alphabetical. So these are the 4 that I have programmed myself, and I have made many, many, many tweaks to these specific blade pressure settings. But this is, I haven't, that was when I was first learning about the Cricut and trying to get a kiss cut. But I have not adjusted them for quite a while now, more like 2 years, because they've been working and I haven't wanted to rock the boat. But what we've got here, the smaller the number, the less pressure. The bigger the number, the heavier the pressure. The pressure is how hard the machine is pushing that blade down into the cutting surface. So fabric batik layer 1, this batiks are thinner than prints typically, so they need less cutting pressure to cut the fabric and get the kiss cut. So 235 is my blade pressure setting for fabric batik layer 1, or with 1 layer. Sometimes if I have a very light, if I have a very light fabric, either batik or print, and I don't want show through, I will back it to itself or back it to muslin. And then that's what the 2 layer settings are for. So batik and muslin, it's 2 layers of fabric held together with Wonder Under. And now the blade has to push really hard to get through that much fabric. So that's why this is at 315. And cotton print, because the cotton print is thicker, we're at 350, which is the very top end. It might be the highest blade pressure setting that my machine is capable of. I have to really push hard to get through all of the settings, or I'm sorry, to get through all of the layers and cut cleanly. Now, it is difficult to get a super clean cut with the 2 layers. So what I've started doing is layering, let's see, I did this with, let me pull up the Illustrator file again to explain this. So what I did on, let's say, the bird's foot, this the lightest fabric on his foot, oops, wrong tool. Okay, here we go. Almost. This tool. I don't have hotkeys set up on this program right now, so that's why weird things were happening there. So you can see this is the blue line is the outline for that piece, that one piece. It is on top of the next color. Notice how this color, the second color that's kind of like a beige, goes all the way under the lightest. So if there's show through, it's the fabric that's part of the foot. I'm okay with this show through. This show through is designed into the picture, if you will. If there's show through, the show through is going to be the pattern that is visible outside that piece. Is this making sense? I can't tell if I'm just talking and it's not making any sense at all, or if what I'm saying is I'm explaining clearly. But this is easier for me to deal with when cutting on the Cricut because I don't have two layers that I'm cutting at once. There's one layer for the lightest color, one layer for the second lightest color, and the second lightest color goes under the highlight, goes under. And if there's show through, I'm okay with it because it's not a different pattern. It's a pattern that is going to be visible anyway outside of the highlight piece. So that's how I typically try to design my pictures so that I don't have to worry about problems from cutting two fabrics at once because it's tricky. So that's my custom blade pressure settings. Feel free to, well, this is going to be up publicly. So if you don't have them written down or anything, you can, go back through the replay and write them down or take a screenshot or whatever. But that's where you go to set custom blade pressure settings. All right, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and upload the next design. And we are over the hump with the Roadrunner. Almost. This is the 6th, and it is exactly halfway. Exactly halfway. Now we've got some really spiky ones on this guy, it looks like. Yeah, look at that. Maybe I should I'm going to clean this mat. I want to make sure those cut correctly. So let's clean a Cricut mat. This is really important. Baby wipes. Oh, I gotta switch back. I'm like, you guys can't see that. Okay, here. 3 cameras. Baby wipes. You don't have to go with Huggies specifically. It's more important to get alcohol-free baby wipes. So I have this brand that I'm almost out of, and I have another brand in the cupboard. As long as they're alcohol-free, that's what you want. Doing this, cleaning your mats with this will extend their life by quite a bit. So all you do is take one out. Oh, I've got 2. We're going to use 2 on this one. And you kind of fold them up, and then you're just going to scrub your mat. Scrub the mat part way down. Go part way. Some of it will come off, like some of the black fabric remnants came off on the cloth. But then what we're going to do is scrape it. This is the Cricut branded scraper, which came in it came in a pack with all these other tools. I don't use any of those tools, but I do use this scraper all the time. And you just whoop, scrape it off. And this scrapes off any residual wonder under that may be on the mat. It actually takes it off really well without damaging the stick. So we're just going to do that over the whole mat. That one's kind of kaput, so we're going to toss it. Scrape. I always think it's funny to see me cleaning my mats on if I do like a time lapse replay of cutting or something like that, because I just go real fast, like you don't really see what I'm doing. It just looks like I'm making weird motions over the mat. But since we're here, at normal human speed during a live stream, I get to explain everything that I'm doing. Almost done. There really wasn't too much wonder under on here, but I'm glad I got all that fabric off. Now we got to make sure it's dry. good and sticky once again. Oh, that sounds weird. It does dry pretty quick. Are we sticky yet? Yeah, we're pretty good. Okay, so where were we? We were on beige 2A, I think? Beige 2A. Okay, let's get this show back on the road. We're going to delete the corner circles and weld. That's it. I hit weld and it doesn't weld. That's what was going on. It's a bug. What's going on here, Cricut? This one doesn't want to weld. Let's try again. No. Uh-oh. What are we going to do about this? Might have to skip this layout because it is not... Oh, there we go. Okay. Weld. Whew. That's weird. I'm going to have to submit a bug report about that because it shouldn't take me clicking on the button 5 times for it to do the action. But we are in good shape. We're ready to put this down on the mat. Here we go. So if you cut as much as I do, you're going to want to buy mats in bulk. The cheapest place that I have found them is from the Cricut store. You can buy, I want to say 25 of these mats for about $5 a mat when they're on sale, which is the best price even compared to off-brand mat makers. So, and it takes me, I'm hoping we'll get to use these 2 mats for the whole Roadrunner. Depending on how well they're holding up, I might switch them out to cut the lizard. But we're gonna have to see on that. All right. Okay, we're gonna see how that one does because there's a lot of spiky stuff happening on that one. All right, these feathers are a thing of beauty, except for those. Those got messed up a little bit. All right, they're actually not too bad. They're not too bad at all. A couple little snips and they'll be good to go. So let me snip here and then we'll answer some more questions. Let's see, 4 more to do. It was a little bit narrow of a space for the blade to get in there. So they got stopped up a little bit. Oops, sorry. I just realized I was off screen. Get my mat. So there are going to be some feathers that don't quite line up with their other components, but fortunately the beige, like I said, the beige goes on the bottom, so we'll be able to illusion of perfection any mistakes. These beige ones are really hard to see. They're so light. Well, good so far on the Cricut cam. That's exciting. Okay. All right. Let's see, what is our next question? Oh, good. I'm glad SC Terrace says this broadcast is so helpful. And although she or he, sorry, has already used Cricut a lot, they've picked up some great tips to improve workflow. Awesome. Very glad to hear it, and I'm super happy to share. All right, Serena Rose, why not leave the pieces on the sticky mat instead of transferring them to the paper grid? Because I would need 40 sticky mats. And I also wouldn't know what their numbers are. So this way, doing it this way, the pieces come off of the sticky mat. They go onto the paper, which has their number associated with it. And even for the feathers, which don't have individual numbers for the most part, they do have their letter, which you can probably even see on the camera because that E is really huge. So I know what feather they're supposed to go to, even though they're, they don't have a specific number. And this is the sixth artboard that we've sent through the Cricut on just these two mats. So if I were to leave the fabric pieces on the sticky mat, I would need a new sticky mat for every cut, for every one that goes through the artboard or the Cricut. So it just makes a lot more sense to me to move them off. Now, if you were doing a much smaller design that only had one sticky mat, you only had one layout to send through the machine, sure, go ahead and leave it on there because you might not even need numbers for your pieces at that point if there aren't too many. But for me, when dealing with pieces numbered in the thousands, it's much easier to just transfer them off onto paper. All right. Foghorn Leghorn. I keep my feathers numbered for such an emergency. Yes, that's right. I had forgotten about that. Gosh, I haven't seen a Foghorn Leghorn cartoon in ages. A scan and cut with similar results. Kathy is asking if her scan and cut can get similar results to what I'm doing today, and the answer is yes. The scan and cut, your workflow might be a little bit different. If you're using the scan feature, that's not something that I have with the Cricut. So I've not ever experimented with how that would work. But if you're doing your own drawing, say, and you scan it into the scan and cut and use the scan and cut software to determine which sections are going to get cut, and you've treated your fabric with the Mod Podge like this, there should be no reason that you can't get this same results with a scan and cut, because the scan and cut is when it comes right down to it, functionally the same as the Cricut. It's a rebranded CNC plotting machine that uses a drag blade. So this process, although your machine's different, your software is going to look different, all of that, your blade pressure settings, those are going to be different. If you're using a fine point blade, like a drag blade, and you've treated your fabric in this fashion, your results should be similar to what we're getting today. You should be able to cut without any frays. And the same goes for a silhouette and any other, even like an industrial machine. Assuming you account for whatever differences that any other machine has compared to what I'm talking to you about with my Cricut, treating the fabric in this fashion will get you clean cuts because all of these machines work the same way. Let's see. Why not ask a product manufacturer to sponsor my videos? And have I looked at Skillshare and also cosmetic manufacturers as sponsors? I kind of like not having sponsors. I like being able to say that these, like if Cricut sponsored my videos, right? I wouldn't be able to say, well, these are the problems that Cricut has. This is why I'm not 100% behind Cricut. So I've thought about it. I've never approached any companies about being a video sponsor. If someone approached me, I would certainly consider it. But I don't know. I like not being locked into saying nice things about a company just because they're giving me money. All right, let's move these, and then oop, we're gonna have some problems because you see how on the Cricut cam, do you see how this fabric's peeling up? We're gonna have some problems, and there's not a whole lot I can do about it at this point. All right, move that off. We are waiting. I'm gonna pause this and see if I can restick some of this fabric. Well, most of this is actually going pretty well so far. These aren't sticking. And like I said, there's really not a lot I can do about it at this point because if I take it out, I'll never get it lined up properly again. So I think we're just going to have to let it go, and I may have to come back and redo some cuts at a later point. But we shall see. All right. Let's see. How did you set up the blade settings? And try and error until you found the right setting. So I looked at, there is a pre-programmed fabric setting. I was looking, my Cricut Explore Air 2 has a dial, which is actually off camera. It's off to the side. But this model has a dial that you can rotate to pick different pre-programmed settings, blade settings. And when you go into the custom list on the software, there's like 100. So what I did for my specific settings is just trial and error. I found the closest fabric that they had. There are a couple of generic fabric settings, but I, of course, wanted mine to be much more precise. So I just found their setting as a starting point and tried to see what would cut. And I just sent the same design through multiple times until I got to a kiss cut. And then I did that with for all 4 of my custom settings: batik 1 layer, print 1 layer, batik 2 layers, and print 2 layers, and just trial and error until I got kiss cuts. And then what I found is that batiks vary very, very slightly in thickness, as do prints, and then it's compounded once they're backed with the muslin. So I made all of my blade pressure settings about 10. I'm not quite sure what the unit is, but like I lowered the pressure setting by 10. I just like added, or I guess I raised it. I increased it by 10 across the board. All 4 settings got an extra 10 to account for that slight variation, because I found that I was cutting, and the cuts would end up just being like perforated. They weren't cut all the way through. It wasn't a true kiss cut. So I would rather err on the side of slightly too heavy, slightly too much blade pressure setting compared to not getting a good cut. So hope that answers the question. But yes, you're right. It was pretty much just trial and error until I got settings that I was happy with. Let's see. June Robertson asks, you clearly like the standard mat, but have you tried the pink one Cricut suggests using for fabric? And if so, what didn't you like about it? I actually have never used the pink mat. When I bought my Cricut, they only had 2 types of mat. They had the standard mat and then the heavy mat, or the like super sticky or extra sticky. I forget what they called it. And I've used both. But these standard mats are the only ones that I can buy in bulk, and I've never had a reason to purchase the pink fabric mat. So I've not tried it, and I very much like buying these for $5 a mat because I do go through them quite a bit. So I hope that answers the question. I have tried the strong mat, like I said. And I found that until I've used it a good bit, it tends to really pull the Mod Podge off the back. Or I'm sorry, not the Mod Podge. It pulls the Wonder Under off the back of the fabric. So it wasn't a good choice for me long term. But yeah, the inexpensive dollar amount is really why I stick with the standard mat, because they're expensive. Like one two pack, a 2-pack of these mats I think is $24. Like if you're buying small quantities, they are not cheap. But $5 for 20 or 25 of them. You get 25 and it's like $5 a mat, I think is how it is. That really is worth it to me because like I said, I go through a bunch of them. Are you using an iPad? I am not using an iPad right now, but I do, well, I guess multiple answers to that question. I actually am using an iPad right now, but it's for running my Stream Deck. So this is running an app that has buttons on it, and I push the button, and that's what make different things happen on the stream. So when I pulled up intermission a few like 10 minutes ago, 15 minutes ago, I pushed a button on my Stream Deck and it pulled up intermission. So right now, this is this is my control panel for the stream. So yes, I am using an iPad right now. As far as for drawing or using it for cutting on the Cricut, no. And I wasn't happy the one time that I tried using the Cricut app because it was just really clunky and I had my laptop sitting right there. So it was just like, why am I going to fuss with this when I have a much better solution right next to me that's, you know, a lot less frustration. So I don't use my iPad for anything related to cutting the Cricut. I do use my iPad for drawing, and I draw all of my designs are hand drawn, and I draw on my iPad in an app called Concepts because it's a vector based drawing app. So I can get all of my hand drawings are in vector right from the beginning, and so they import well into Illustrator where I do my full color templates. All right, did I turn this around? I don't think that I did, but it actually is fairly clean up there. So I'm not gonna clean that clean this mat yet with the baby wipe. That's the word I'm looking for. Okay, finish up on that cut layout. It actually cut way better than I was expecting. We're gonna have a little bit of trimming to do, but I was kind of expecting the whole thing to glob up.
Sorry, I couldn't hear what you said.
That's okay, Siri. I wasn't talking to you. Siri on my phone thought I was talking to her. Okay, let's or I should say Siri on my watch chimed in. Yes. All right, next layout. We are on looks like we're finishing up beige 2B. 2B or not 2B? And probably beige 3A. 3A, I think. I'm going to check that and make sure I've got the right. Oh yeah, we're going to use pretty much the whole mat on this one. It goes all the way down to the bottom. Wow, this is going to be some fun cuts. Look at those feathers. Feathers are either the most satisfying or the most frustrating thing to cut because of all the in and out, in and out, in and out. If it cuts well, it's wonderful. If it doesn't cut well, it's very frustrating. All right, let's put that over there. Let's get rid of the corner circles. Weld. Nope. Let's try again. Weld. Nope. This has got to be a bug. Maybe they have an update or something. Cricut, why you do this to me? I have seriously never encountered this bug before today, and of course it would come up on live stream. All right, come on, come on. Oh, now it says weld. All right, weld. Make it. Hey, 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 in business. All right, let's see This one's gonna go this way. All right. Yep. All right, there's one and two. That's 11. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Well, I'm glad I counted because I was going to put it on the wrong square. Okay. All right. I'll push down. Let's get this sent to the machine. Here we go. Load it in. Yeah, actually, this is really, that turned out way better than I was expecting it to. Very rarely have I had a cut or a fabric get so messed up in the machine that I've had to completely scrap it. More often than not, this is what happens where the pieces are, 90-95% cut cleanly and just need a little bit of a snip to separate them from the fabric. And that's totally manageable. So we might have a bunch of those on this one. Yeah, look, these are all not popping out. So I'm just gonna lift this off and pull up my chair because we're gonna be here for a little bit. Okay. Ugh. All right, let's start with the top. So these pieces at the top all do have their own numbers. These little skinny ones go around the Roadrunner's beak. And then the fuzzier ones underneath are on his fuzzy legs and his belly. So these do not repeat. These all have their own numbers. There's that. So we're missing this one right here. And yeah, see, I can just pop these out. They are, for the most part, just completely cut. They're just stuck in there by like one thread. And so I can just pop them off. All right, some more questions. Let's see where I was. The pink mat causes the fusible to peel off. Oh, well, that's good to know. Yeah, because I mean, you can see from today that I've not really had that much of an issue with the fusible peeling off. If I'm using print fabrics, it's a lot worse than what you've seen happen today. Print fabrics, it's real hard to get the fusible to stick. But don't use print fabrics. Use batiks. And when you iron, it's really, really important to iron well. I talk about this in the video because I recorded myself ironing all of these pieces of fabric. When you're ironing the fusible to your fabric, pretend that you're heat setting some dye. Like 5 seconds on each section of the fusible. Keep the iron there for 5 seconds before moving to a new area. And then once you've ironed the fusible, cut the fabric away, cut that swatch away from the rest of the material flip it over and iron it from the front, same thing. So you iron the front and the back really super duper well. And that makes a big difference in getting the fusible to stay on. It takes forever. You're there a really long time, especially if you're prepping a lot of fabric like I am, but it is worth it to keep that fusible on the fabric. Oh, Sally. Thank you for telling me who you are. I see Terrace is Sally. Do I fuse the muslin and then add another layer of fusible? So, Marilyn, I'm assuming that you're talking about the settings, the pressure settings, when I have 2 layers, batik plus muslin. You're correct. I will, there's fusible in between, like if I have batik and muslin, it's batik, fusible, muslin, fusible. So there's 2, it's double fusible at that point. I've not had a problem stitching through it at all, but like I said, it's difficult to get good cuts. All right, so these couple of feathers down here do have a tiny little jump, and I actually need to snip them. I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to see this. Let's see if I can hold it up to the camera. So they're just attached. They're a tiny little bit right where the wrinkles are on both of them. And so I'm gonna just snip. It's like 2 millimeters in length, and then we're good. They're free. And like I said, that just happens when the fabric gets a little bit. It just has a tiny little wrinkle, and then that's enough to make the blade skip. So yeah, here's another one. This one's a little bit worse, but still totally salvageable. So I'm just gonna put a little clip, a little snipperoo, and we're good. That one's good. And one more of these little round ones, and then that'll be that. We'll move on to some other fabrics, or some other feathers. All right, there we go. Okay, this one looks good. Pop that out. That and that. Have you tried wood or leather in the Cricut for textural purposes? I have not. Oh, hi, Lynn. I didn't even read your name. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining. I have not tried to cut anything other than I have cut vinyl, but I'm just all in on the fabric, I guess. I have not tried anything else. I know if you have a Cricut Maker or like the new Cameos, I think will all also have deep cut blades. You're supposed to be able to even cut like balsa wood, but that's not something I've ever tried myself. It does great with the vinyl. I can tell you that. Okay, honestly, this, for as bad as I thought it looked, it's really not that bad. Most of these are just popping right out. Here's one that needs a tiny little bit of a snip. Yeah, but I think in my, 5 years now that I've had a Cricut machine, there have only been a handful of times, I mean like less than 5, where a fabric that I've been trying to cut winds up being a complete loss. Most of the time, it's salvageable. It might take me a little bit if I'm, if it didn't cut cleanly and I'm going through and cutting a lot of perforated little pieces. It might take a while, but it's still faster to do that than to have to recut the Wonder Under, iron it to more fabric, go back through and retreat it with the Mod Podge. If the fabric is at all salvageable, it's definitely better to spend a little bit of time snipping any sections that need it. This really is not bad. I mean, it's not great, right? Because I couldn't just lift it off of the sticky mat, but this is fine. We're good. And I mean, this thing is at 87%, so we would be waiting for it anyway to do the next layout. Let's see. I'm trying to pop these out without letting the scraps drag over the ones I've already pulled out. Almost there. Oh, that one will need a snip. Oh, it still beat me. Cricut's all done. Okay, just a couple more, and we will be all done here. Okay, this one needs a snip, and then I think we're good. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I think we got them all. Yep, I don't see any more stragglers, so I'm going to put this over here. Well, it might be time for a new mat because this is they're starting to not cut super clean. Not cut super clean. I'd get some more life out of it if we weren't doing all these little jagged spikes. I'm going to give it another shot, but we may end up with a new mat. Okay, that one's done. Let me get my page protector. Okay, next up, what have we got? A keyboard. All right, let's finish. And next layout. Okay, 4 more. So I'm committed to finishing up the Roadrunner today, you guys. We've got 4 more layouts. We've got all of the browns, or the russet, I guess is what I called it. Okay, uploaded. Right, that's the right one. Delete the corner circles, fight with the weld function. Cricut, looking at you. Do. Oh. I don't know what is going on. I'm going to try and restart this software. Let's restart this software. All right. Open the design space. Maybe. Okay, coming back up. You can do it, computer. Yep. This is a good bit slower than I'm used to it being. We are really really, really asking a lot of my little laptop. But it's chugging along. Now, if the Cricut software will cooperate and weld all this stuff together, we'd be great. Nope. Nope. Oh, let's try flatten. Let's see what that does. Nothing. Okay. Oh my goodness. Aw, Mom. Thank you, Mom. Oh, software, you gotta cooperate with me. This won't work if you don't weld. Yep. Super boring at the moment. Nothing I can do about that. Cherry or Sherry, I hope I'm saying your name right. I apologize if I'm not. I have actually tried washing and resticking mats with the Krylon repositioning spray, and the result was way too sticky. It was just pulling the Mod Podge or the fusible right off the back. So that that wasn't good for me. It might work fine for someone else, and if it works for you, then excellent. By all means, do it, because if you don't have to buy new sticky mats all the time, uh, definitely do not. But for me, it was just not good for the fusible. So unfortunately, that was not an option. I do appreciate the tip though, because if it wasn't something that I had already tried, I for sure would be trying it. All right, beige. More feathers. More feathers. More feathers. All right, little machine. Takes me longer to get your software to weld than it does for you to cut it. Okay, load it in. Fabric batik one layer, and away we go. Okay, feather time. Oops. So I apparently did not have this quite long enough. Look, so that feather has a little bit of a haircut. You see how it's flat across the bottom? It does not quite line up. Oh well, it's fine. There's 2 layers of fabric going on top of it. No one will ever know that that particular piece and this one here are missing a bum. Missing a bum. Okay, let's do that. And 2 more stragglers. That one came out. And this one came out. So that's, oh, I missed this one. Missed that one. Here we go. So is it cherry, like the fruit cherry, or sherry? All right. Popping some of these out. Look at all my feathers, you guys. So happy. Oh, I love it when feathers cut correctly. because it's always a lot of work if they don't. It's always a lot of work if they don't. Okay, there's that. And a couple snips on this one. These are his leg feathers, so they can be kind of shaggy a little bit, and it'll be all right. All right, the big one here, and then this might be it. Where'd that one go? Right there. Okay, is that it? Nope, we got some up here. Oh, saved. All right, snip, 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 snip. Up. Ooh, the next one's gonna be messy. I might get new. I think I'm gonna get some new mats for the last 3. It's it's gonna be a little messy. It's gonna be a little bit messy. On the Cricut can, you can maybe start seeing the fabric roll up a bit. This one up top was a little bit messy. I'm cutting this number 31 right now, and the fabric was apparently not completely even, and it was just a lot of in and out that caused it to curl up and not cut super smooth, but we're good. It's good enough. And that one popped out. What else have we got up here? Oh, nothing. I think everything else cut. Oh no, one more here on this side. Here on this side. Okay. Okay, I think that's it. Let's see. Oh, okay, short for Charlotte. So Sherry, thank you for giving me the phonetic on that. Since I know you've just emailed me, but we haven't actually spoken. All right. Well, questions slowed down a little bit. Is there anything that you can think of, even if it's not specifically related to Cricut cutting, that you might be interested in knowing more about? I'm happy to answer questions on other stuff while we're doing this. Oh, one more. All right. And that, and that. Gosh, these feathers look so good. This is why it's really important to have a sticky mat, because when the blade goes in and out so dramatically and so close to other cuts, there's not a lot of fabric left on the mat to provide friction that holds it in place. So it's important to make sure that all your fabric is really stuck down in order to get those really clean cuts. Is there a use for used up mats? Maybe. I don't know of one. I don't have one, I can tell you that. I roll them up and recycle them. So if there is a use for used up mats, I don't know what it is. Oh, hi Sharon. How do I decide if a particular pattern on a batik will work for a section of the quilt? Oh, that's a good question. That is a good question. So let me move this out of the way, and then we'll talk about that a little bit. go. Safely out of the way. Okay, how do I pick my patterns? It has to do with where the pattern is going to be, like on what part of the quilt. So stuff that's close to the viewer can get really prominent patterns. They don't have to necessarily get very prominent patterns. It's more important to match the color and the value to the template than it is to get a prominent pattern. But if I have the option for a prominent pattern, that's the way to go. Reason being, stuff that's close to the viewer, you're going to see more detail anyway. So strong patterns make a lot of sense for something that's going to be up close and personal. So take these fabrics that I've got here. I was not able, most of the fabrics I've been cutting today are these, like the watercolor. I think these are from our Kaufman line of fabrics. That's like, this is in the same pattern as this. They're all just different colors. But this one, look at this pattern. Isn't that gorgeous? So this pattern matched the color and the value of the swatch that I was trying to choose, that I was picking for. But because it's a really prominent pattern, it's perfect for the Roadrunner because the Roadrunner is in your face. He's up close and personal. When I go to pick patterns for stuff that's further away, I'm going to try and pick much calmer material. Probably a good bit more of this, the watercolor kind of pattern. I might even go as far as to use solids on some of the mountains that are way in the background. While this Cricut finishes up, let me pull up the template again. So here's the template. The Roadrunner, the lizard, the rust on the tire or the train wheel, the rocks, the dirt, the pressure gauge. Okay, I had a weird sound in my my earbuds. They are running out of battery. So I'm going to pop one out, and I hope you guys can still hear me because one will be offline, one will be online still. If you can't hear me on the stream, let me know. But I'm going to charge up one of my AirPods, and the other one, when it dies, I'll swap to the one that's still alive. So to go back to my pattern choices, all the stuff in my template that's going to be up close and personal to the viewer, all of that is going to be or have the possibility of being a very dramatic pattern. As we get back into the distance a bit, like the middle ground that has the saguaro cactuses and the train trestle and the train, that's going to be much calmer patterns. I will still pick batiks if I can. I will be okay using this, this watercolor pattern that I pointed out before. But when I start putting in the mountains are almost certainly going to be solids. They might be grunge pattern, but otherwise, yeah, the further back in the picture it gets, the less pattern I use, or I choose fabrics with less pattern. Doing live streams on how to use other programs for my work, and when using a new program, you sometimes feel like you need to learn a new language to use it. Yeah, there is a lot to learn. And my goal with future live streams is to match them up to that month's video, if possible. So this is for Patreon, if anyone is here and isn't sure what I'm talking about. My future live streams will be for Patreon subscribers, and the videos that I post will be Patreon exclusive. And my goal is to make them match. So I would like to do a video. Here, let me put me back on the camera here. I want to do a video that's a in-depth demonstration of, for example, how I draw in concepts on my iPad. And then I want to do a live stream that shows me doing that skill actively, like spend 2 hours drawing in concepts on my iPad and what it looks like when I go back and forth working with Illustrator. So there will be the video, you know, the pre-recorded, professionally edited video will be instructional, and then there will be the live stream where whomever tunes in or watches the replay, then you get to see me in person, like making it happen on an actual quilt. All right. Yeah, we're definitely going to swap mats because this one is a wee bit of a mess. All right. Yeah, let's get some new mats because it's way easier to cut when we've got fresh mats. All right, so that one's out. I have to step off camera for just a moment because they're in a drawer over on that side of the room. So just a second. All right. New mats. New mats. Okay, let's queue up the next Cricut cut, and then we're gonna deal with that mess back there because that does not look very good. It's not looking very good. All right, upload, fight with Cricut about welding. Oh, Cricut, why you gotta be like this? Okay, upload, insert. Delete corner, circles, and weld. Nope. Nope. Weld. Nope. Oh, yes. I have to be patient. I have to be patient. I have to click the button and wait. We're going to try that next time. All right. All on one mat. Good to go. Wet pieces. Am I looking at russet 1? And I'm going to guess beige 4. Yes. Beige. Oh, we need the acetate. Whoa, my arm got really big there for a moment. Real big. All right. Beige 4. Okay, now when I have pieces that are about square, I have to be really careful about whether they're actually square or if one direction is longer than the other because it's 9 and that is a little less than 9. So these look honestly pretty close. So I'm gonna go ahead and put it down because a half inch or quarter inch can make a really big difference when you're cutting as to whether the piece is on the fabric or off the fabric. Very important to pay attention. Now, let's see, this is on 10. Okay, we're going to have a lot of fixing up to do on that other layout. A lot of fixing up to do. It's definitely salvageable, but that layout that I just took out of the Cricut is a perfect example of not being the smoothest it could be. Okay, fabric batik. I'll set that aside. Okay, pull up the chair. Yeah, this isn't pretty. This isn't pretty. Oh. It's definitely salvageable. It's Let me hold it up and see if you can see through it. It looks worse now that I kind of lifted it off the mat. But there are some wrinkles, like right here. The fabric has wrinkled and it caused the blade to skip. And, you know, most of the feather is cut properly, but some of the feather, enough of the feather is not cut properly that it means it has not stuck to the mat and instead got pulled up with the scraps. So we're gonna take it from the top and just go through and snip what needs snipping and just go from there. These are a little bit messier than the other pieces that we trimmed off earlier. But the good news is that I cut too many of these pieces anyway, at least in theory, compared to what the template calls for. So it's entirely possible that I may not need all of these. Why is this jamming? Do I have another pair? No. Okay, we're stuck with some funky scissors. My Sakwa group did a hide and, or like a find and seek, I guess. It was like a scavenger hunt in our Sakwa pod meeting. And the topic was scissors. So we had to see who had the most scissors of anyone in the group. And it was not me. There was someone in our group who I think had 18 pairs of scissors. But I think I had 12. Which, for someone who doesn't really cut with scissors, I use exactly one pair of scissors. No, I use 2 pairs of scissors. I have a bigger pair that I use too. But, like, I have a lot of scissors for someone who doesn't really use scissors. Right. Whoop. Oh, and Sherry, about your question before about the videos and the live streams and stuff. My goal with Patreon is to focus on the Save Your Scissors stuff first, which you know, this is the culmination of everything that I teach in that class, how to do this with your Cricut, how to get good clean fabric cuts. And what I want to do with Patreon is go through each step of that process in small bite-sized videos, and then with the accompanying live streams to show it in action, because that class is the most requested class that I get. It was I get a lot of people who want to learn that class, and so I know there's a market for it, for that knowledge. And I have tried teaching like workshops and stuff in the past. It's just not for me. It's too much of a time investment for one output. You know, it's just one class and there's the same amount of time investment on my part each time. So I like the idea of doing the videos on Patreon because they will be, I can get very specific and they'll be bite-sized, right? It's a tiny little bit at a time, so it'll hopefully be easier to digest. And then it will additionally be less expensive than for someone to pay me to be there in person teaching this stuff, because you know, you'll down the road be able to get it all for the cost of 1 month of a subscription. So I'm hoping that Patreon works out to be a mutually beneficial kind of symbiotic relationship for everybody. That's kind of my goal for it from here on out. Surprised it was only 18. What did I say that was only 18? I don't remember. That was too long ago. That was in the past. That's what I said at the beginning about the delay. I'll get to talking and lose track of where I started. All right. That one goes down there. Oh, we're out of the, okay, we're into the big fat feathers. So these big fat feathers are kind of interesting because I just saw a fuzzy dogtail head up the steps. I guess my old puppy, my old guy is headed up to bed again. Oh, 18 scissors. 18, that's right. She had 18 pairs of scissors. She took the prize. Maybe some of you guys have more. Some of you all have more scissors, more pairs of scissors. But she actually used her scissors. I don't use mine. I just have a bunch of them. All right, Cricut's at 95, and I don't see any little pieces of fabric. Oh, one tiny little piece of fabric peeled up. I think making the switch to the new mat was a good move. All right, my other AirPod just gave me the ding. Let's see if the first one is charged up enough for me to switch to it. Otherwise, we might have an audio problem. Let's see. Where is my cellular device that can tell me how much juice my AirPods got? Let's see. Plug in. Are we connected? Yes. Oh, how are we doing, AirPod? How is your battery level? This is not a problem I anticipated having. It's kind of a silly problem when you think about it. All right. Bluetooth, give me some AirPod details. No AirPod details from the Bluetooth. Well, I'm just going to switch them out and let the other one charge. If you suddenly cannot hear me, let me know. What is with these scissors? Maybe I have them backwards. All right, we should be back. It says it's back. It says it's back. Hopefully we're back. I have no idea how much battery it has though. It looks low. We might be done for the day, guys. I apologize. We'll see. We'll give it a shot. I see the audio thingy is going. maybe if in the future I just start out with one AirPod. I start out with one AirPod and then the other one can stay juiced up and we can go for a longer time. But I think we're probably gonna have to be done here. Oh wait, no, it has a big battery. It's connected. We're good. We've got a lot of juice in this one. So I'm gonna keep going. If you guys are sticking around, we're gonna get through this Roadrunner today. We've got two more layouts, I think, because that was the third one. So we're almost there. We are in the home stretch, and now that I'm switching artboards, I think it's going to go a little bit quicker as soon as I get the rest of these feathers off of here. So back to what I was saying about these feathers. The Roadrunner was looking, well, I'm not sure how much you heard because it did cut out. So I'm going to start over with with the feathers. So these feathers are meant to show perspective on the Roadrunner's body. They show the curvature of his body, and I was saying initially that they didn't show up at first, or I didn't have them in there at first. I hadn't designed them. I was just using like normal shaped feathers. And it took me a day to figure out why the Roadrunner looked weird. And it's because he's supposed to be going away from the viewer. So he's got like this round body, he's got like a chicken, he's like a chicken-sized bird, even though he's huge. In my quilt design, he's really big. But he's got this round body, and yet because of the way I had the feathers arranged initially, the feathers looked like they were just all pointing in one direction, like just off to the side. There was no curvature. The feathers didn't look like they had perspective to them. So I had to draw these chubby feathers to make it look like they were going around the bird. Yeah, this is a pain. I don't like doing this. It's like the Cricut should be able to cut this stuff. Okay, three more. And these are a little bit choppy. So when I go to put, do the assembly on all these feathers, if this feather or if these feathers end up, I'll just kind of, what I usually do is put the bad pieces together. So instead of evenly distributing the, quote unquote bad pieces, they'll all go together on the same feather. And then that way, if I don't need extra feathers, I don't have to use the bad ones. Or if I do need all of the feathers, these bad ones will get just stuffed under all the others, so you don't really see them in the finished picture. It's fine. They're really not. I'm calling them bad feathers. They're scruffy feathers. They're scruffy feathers. Okay. Last one. One more trim. Okay. That was it. That was rough, but we made it through. Okay. Let's lift all these off and keep rolling. Oh, that was the puppy. If you heard a bark just now, that was my puppy. He's awake. He's awake. I took him on a super long walk this morning to get him worn out enough that he would hopefully sleep through today's live stream. But if he's awake, he's my husband's problem. Some pretty scruffy real roadrunners. I know, yeah, they can get really scruffy. Real roadrunners. They can. Lots of birds can get really scruffy. I had ducks when I was growing up, and Chocolate was my duck. And once a year, she would try and make a nest and she wouldn't molt until she had her clutch laid. And so she would end up with these year-old feathers that were just a mess. She just looked awful. But then as soon as she, had her eggs to sit on, once that whole process was through, she would go ahead and molt, and then she was gorgeous again. She got all her fresh feathers. But yeah, she was something else. All right, I'm really glad we're switching sticky mats here because that wasn't fun. Yeah, we're not going to use this one again. We're going to use a fresh sticky mat. All right, let's get the acetate. So all the scraps that I lift off, I used to give them to my mom, but she told me that she has too many. And so mom doesn't get my scraps anymore. I sometimes try and tempt her with pretty colors. I say, Mom, I've got all these blues. You sure you don't need some blues? And then she'll be like, oh, okay, bring them over. But she told me this last time. I'm not allowed to even ask her if she wants scraps. I'm not allowed to show her any colors because then she'll say yes and she doesn't have any more room. She's got no more room. Of course, I don't really have room for my scraps, so that's why I was trying to think of what to do with them because I won't use them. They're just not for me, for my particular method of making art, but somebody could use them. I'm certainly not going to throw them out. All right. Let's see if my theory on the Cricut software just needing a moment to weld my design together, how accurate that is. Does that hold up? So let's load up. We've got 2 layouts to go. You guys have been troopers. Troopers. We've got 2 more. 2 more. We are almost there, but these also have a lot of feathers, so we're not ready to give up quite yet. We're not calling it quits just yet. Okay. Weld. Give it a minute to think about it. No. Let's try it again. It did take 2 tries last time. Hey, 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 hey. 2 tries, and then you just let it sit there and think about what it's doing. Seems to be the ticket. And we are doing, I want to say russet 2. Let me check. Russet 2. Yes. So that's this really pretty one right here. Russet 2. All right, send it to the machine. Load the sticky mat. All right, fabric batik 1 layer. Start. Now that's gonna get going. I'm gonna lift this off. All the scraps. No scraps. I had a couple jumps here. Let me get out my trusty scissors. Maybe I need to change blades. I mean, it is a new blade, but we've cut a lot of fabric with that blade, now that I think about it. We've cut almost 1,000 pieces of fabric so far. So I'm gonna let that go, but I might switch it. I might switch it up. Let's see. All right, there's that one. Now we have a couple of snips in this other scrap here. That would be very frustrating to have to do a cut or two and then have to stop for really any reason at all. That would be very frustrating. Oh, I'm sorry. I misread your question there. You're saying you have the shortcut a lot too on an older machine, and you're asking if this process will work to cut out, or do you have to get a new machine? I am not familiar with that brand. So, Donna, does your shortcut a lot allow you to upload custom files, or is it the kind of machine that requires a like a cartridge and you can only cut pre-designed stuff? Because if the answer is that it takes a cartridge and you can't upload your own files, this process for cutting fabric, like preparing the fabric with the Mod Podge and all that, that will work on your machine to give you good, clean cuts for fabric, but you won't be able to do your own designs and upload your own artwork. As long as your machine functions with a dragging blade and lets you upload your own designs, there should be no reason that what I'm doing right now won't work for you. Almost done. Okay, almost. Let me just finish cleaning these up a little bit. All right, we got all of those. Let's move these off. And then we've got one piece of fabric left to cut. We are in the home stretch, almost there. So this Roadrunner has specifically 948 pieces of fabric, and we will have cut every single one in probably about 3.5 hours. So that is really not too bad at all. That makes me very happy because the amount of time I would spend doing it by hand is just ridiculous, especially with all the ins and outs on these feathers. And you can probably see why having fingernails comes in really handy. I can just grab all of these, go right across the row and get all of those. It makes it very easy to lift these up off of the sticky mat. Oh, good. Well, Donna, if you're able to cut your own files on your shortcut a lot too, then does it take SVG files out of curiosity? Like I said, I don't know anything about that machine other than it's a cutting machine. Because if it only takes JPEGs, you know, you'll be stuck uploading raster files. But if it takes SVGs, then it sounds like you're going to be just fine. And it would, at the very least, be worth trying before spending money on a new machine. At least that's what I would do if it were my machine. I would try it a whole bunch before going out and buying something new. All right, last one. Last one. I'm going to go ahead and put this down since I know this is the last piece of fabric that we've got to cut today. Oh, my puppy's barking. He's awake. Oh, now the other one's coming down the steps. Robin, what you doing? All right. It's I guess one of the downsides or upsides, depending on how you look at it, to having my studio, both my now my broadcasting studio and my quilt studio here in my home and right next to the front door. The front door to my house is on the other side of this camera, this face cam, and the dogs bark a lot. They bark at a lot of stuff. Although, like I said, I did try my best to get them worn out today so that they wouldn't be interrupting too much. All right. So I still have quite a few. Well, I've actually got 4 other sheets under here. I wasn't sure how far we were going to get today, so I did prepare the lizard fabrics, but I'm going to not do them during today's live stream because this is, we've been here for quite a while. So we're going to finish up the Roadrunner and then call it quits. And the Cricut is at 70%, so we've got a little bit of time before it's all done. Let's see what else I can tell you about. I think we've pretty well covered all the Cricut stuff. What else can I show you? Oh, let me talk to you about my templates for print, because I mentioned that I go to FedEx and have them printed on their full size words. Words are escaping me. It does. I have my templates printed full size on their blueprint printer. So let me switch to this layout. So these are black and white versions of my templates. And I have arranged them on a 36-inch wide artboard so that when I go to FedEx, I can just make a PDF of these and then upload the PDF to FedEx's printing software. And I do something really cool with the letter or the numbers that Illustrator is unique in allowing. And that is I put the outline, I put a white outline on my text so that you see how there's like a little white outline behind the 2. Illustrator lets we artists control whether the outline is above or below the fill. And so what I've done with my text is put the black fill on top and the white outline underneath. And I did that so that the number would stand out in the event it overlaps any of the black lines, because the whole thing is printed in black and white. What would happen if I didn't do this is, let me open up the appearance panel. So well, now it's not showing it. let me do a demonstration off to the side and I'll show you what I mean. It's not showing. Okay, let's do just a new letter K. I'm gonna make this K real big so you can see it easily. So I'm going to, if I, you know, just normally without messing with the outline or anything like that, if I put an outline on it and then make the outline real thick, because this is a giant letter and I want you to be able to see it. That's too big. Actually, no, this is good. So you can't even see the black fill right now, right? The black fill is just totally gone. But if I open up that appearance panel again, and I say, okay, well, I want my outline to be under the fill, I can give it a fill, and now all of a sudden I see the fill. I see the center color because the center color is on top of the outline. So I do this not with bright pink, obviously, and not gigantic 6-inch tall letters, but this is what I do with all of my text when printing my templates, because it makes the numbers a lot easier to read in black and white. All right, Cricut machine is finished up, so I'm gonna delete that. Oh, and I did just real quick want to zoom out and show you. These are all 36-inch wide artboards, and quite long. So these are the files. So they're 36 inches wide. I think this longest one is 70 inches long. That gives you an idea of how big these were when I printed them. And I think it was like $35 to print all 4 of these together. So really not expensive if you're using the blueprint printer. Let's go back to the Cricut software and get ready to upload the last design. We are almost there. 948 pieces. 949 pieces, excuse me. We've got a lot done today. That's like 300 pieces an hour. That's nuts. Oh, we've got some really big spikies on this one. Let's see if I can show you on here. This is our next layout. Look at these guys. Okay, weld. Don't fail me now, weld. Got one more to do, and then I will stop bothering you for the day. Weld. Okay, weld 1 failed. Weld 2. Thinking about it. Maybe? Ah! Wow, that is such a weird bug. But it's worked 3 times in a row now. So strange. Okay, let's send this to the machine. Load it up. I had said I was going to change blades. Let's do that because we've cut 1,000 cuts. 1,000 pieces is just about the limit. So I'm not surprised if this is a necessary thing. Change some blades. It certainly can't hurt to change blades. Let's put it that way. And these blades are like $4 a piece. I mean, really not. I would much rather change the blade and get clean cuts. The weld function. So the weld function is something unique to the Cricut software that causes all of the pieces to be locked in place. They're welded together. right? So if I don't weld, the Cricut software tries to very unhelpfully rearrange all of the pieces in my design into like by color. So if I had multiple colors of pieces on the same design, it would put them on separate artboards. It will also completely rearrange them. They will no longer fit the prepared fabric that I have cut. So weld forces the Cricut software to keep them in place, keep them in the arrangement that they were uploaded in. And so that's why it's really important, because otherwise I can't pre-prepare fabric for the cut, because I don't know how the software is going to do it until I upload the file. And by that point, I already need the fabric to be prepared. I did give a little bit more of a demo on that towards the, like at the beginning of today's event. So on the replay, if you watch towards the beginning when we're just getting started, I talk more about weld. And I wasn't able to give a demo this time because we're, you know, cutting the last layout. But I show what it does at the beginning of the video when we're just getting started. And I've uploaded just a design or two. Okay, just one, I think. Or oh, just two. I've got two that need a little snip. And that's it. That is it. I'm cutting into my trash can. I apologize that it's off camera for you guys, but I don't like little fluff, little chunks of fabric floating around my work table. It bugs me. So I was cutting into my trash can. And this is used up, so we're going to put that with all the other scraps. So I do keep my scraps until I'm done with a project, because in the event that I need to patch something, like I told you all that things shift around when you're putting them together. Things move around, and it has mostly to do with the expansion and contraction of my non-stick Teflon sheet. And specifics on my Teflon sheet will be in the early release blog post on Monday. So if you want details on specifically what type of Teflon sheet I'm using and all that, just check the early access blog post. But the Teflon sheet, as it heats, because you know I'm ironing on top of it, as it heats and then cools off, it expands and then it contracts, and it's very subtle, but it is enough to slightly shift all of the pieces of fabric I'm ironing to it away from the template, away from the lines that I had used to align them underneath. The way I do my assembly is to have my ironing surface and then my full-size template, then the non-stick pressing sheet, and then all of my fabric gets ironed on top of the pressing sheet. And as it heats up, it'll stick together, and then as it cools, I can lift it off of the Teflon and reposition it as needed. But the Teflon sheet shifts around. So, or it shifts around as I'm heating it. So things inevitably move. There's just, it's gonna happen. It's a fact of life. Accept it and just deal with it as it happens. So as things shift, I sometimes end up with gaps in between my pieces. I'll end up with little holes. And so I hang on to the scraps, the pieces that the solid chunk of fabric that made up the negative space around all of these shapes. I hang on to that while I'm making the quilt, because if I need to patch a hole, caused by expansion of the Teflon sheet, then I've got the material to do it. But once I'm done with the quilt, I'll never use those, because they're just excess. They have no place in my process. So I've been hoarding them for a while, but the drawer is getting very full, so I'll have to donate them or put them up for a poll in Patreon if anyone, like a drawing, or give them to someone local who wants them, or what. I have not quite yet decided what to do with them, but they're good. Anyone who likes making improv quilts and wants to just cut stuff and iron it down, man, my scraps would be perfect because they're treated against fraying, so you can stitch on them and they won't fray. And they're all backed by fusible, so they're ready to just iron and stick there. All right, almost done. Cricut is at 45%, so we are getting close. Okay, Siri thought I wanted my exercise. Let's start taking a walk. Siri's weird sometimes. Siri, what are you doing? Quit it, Siri. Siri's on the fritz. Okay. All right. Whoops. Popped out of the air. All right. Almost there. This is just about your last chance to ask questions. Is there anything else you want to know from today, even if it's not about Cricut cutting? Ask me anything. All right, we'll save that one. That one's reusable. 62%. And when I say 62%, that's because the Cricut software has a little progress bar. Tells you how far you've gone. So we're just watching it. Get my Stream Deck over here. 65. Almost. We're getting there. We're getting there. Let's see. What else have I not talked about for this picture? Hmm. I know what I haven't talked about. I probably need to switch gears and stop working on this picture for a while. And so what my current plan is, if any of you have gone back through my blog history, my blog post history, and look back at the post that I made, I think it was in December last year, about my plan was for this year, what the pictures I was planning on making. That post has not aged very well because we are very far off target. And the reason is, when I wrote that post, I was not planning to have a puppy. And little Luke has taken up quite a lot of my time. So he has derailed my plans for the year. So I have a picture in mind to do for the upcoming Sakwa Studio Art Quilt Associates Florida show, which is the artist's question answered in fiber. And at the rate this quilt is going, I need to start that other one now because it's due by the end of October. Whereas this one didn't have a show deadline. I was just gonna, put it in the next show available after I finished it. So I'm probably going to be switching gears, which is unusual for me. I don't really like stopping in the middle of a project and starting a new one. I like to see it through to the end. But in this case, if I want a picture that's ready to submit to that show, I probably need to give myself a lot of extra time because, as it turns out, it takes a lot of work to raise a new puppy. He's only 4.5 months old. I got him at the end of February, and we've been taking him through the AKC AKC Star Puppy, American Kennel Club Star Puppy class. So I've really been working with him a lot, and he's worth it. And I'm glad, we love having him. He's wonderful, but he has derailed my itinerary for the year a bit. Donna asks, "Are you going to have open to the Explorer?" Were you going to have open to the Explorer? I'm sorry, I'm not sure what you mean. Are you able to provide any more information for your question? So I do have a topic in mind for that quilt, but we very well that may be the quilt the design I'm working on for upcoming live streams, because I will be starting from scratch. I will be starting from drawing on my iPad. So we'll see. But yeah, the Roadrunner and the Lizard will probably have to get set aside. I'll finish it this year, but it probably needs to get bumped. Oh, and more exciting news: Leap of Faith, the quilt behind me. I had finished her and planned to submit her to Houston last year, but Houston was canceled, of course. So she's going to be going this year, or at least I'm going to, submit her, and fingers crossed that she gets juried in. But hopefully she will get to hang at Houston this year, since she did not last year. Okay, looks like I'm going to have a little bit of work cut out for me here. Get my stuff rearranged. Let's see. A little bit of snips, but pretty good. Pretty good. So let me get my iPad out of the way. Here's these 4 up top cut cleanly, and those were the 4 I was most worried about. So let's pop these out. This is such a pretty color. I might have to break my rule about reusing fabrics and use this one for some of the dark rust, because the rust is actually going to need 7 fabrics. It has a light and a dark version of the rust in highlight, midtone, shadow, and deep dark shadow. So that means I need 2 rust fabrics for highlight, 2 rust fabrics for midtone, 2 rust fabrics for shadow, and then 2 rust fabrics for deep dark shadow. And that many fabrics may be tough to find. So my usual rule is don't reuse fabrics if I can help it, because I don't like the patterns of the fabrics to show up in multiple different places within a quilt. Because, for example, it doesn't make sense to me that a pattern that would be on, say, a horse would also show up in the dirt, right? Because horses look different. They look fundamentally different than dirt, so they shouldn't have the same patterns. But the problem is, when I need a lot of colors that are the same the same color and same value. I need a lot of fabrics that all have the same requirements. It's sometimes difficult to find enough to fill the void, to fill the need. So it's we'll see. It wouldn't be the end of the world if I had to reuse this one, and it is a gorgeous color. But I will see if I can find other fabrics to do the rest, then I will. But we might. Let's see, Donna. Opening for more people to join. Oh, on Patreon, the Explorer tier. No, my intent is to leave that at 10. It was meant for to reward the first 10 people, and that's it. That's how many get the initial sign up. But even still, I think $10 a month for the complete access to the complete history, my complete video library, will still be a really good deal, especially once I've got a couple months of posting content under my belt. Plus that tier, the $10 a month tier, gives you access to the live streams. So we'll be doing this again. All right, y'all. That's it. All I've got to do is finish transferring these over to the number match sheet. So I'm going to call it here for today. Thank you so much for all of you who have stuck with me for the past 3.5 hours. This was a lot of fun. I'm delighted at how enthusiastic you all have been. And yeah, until next time, have a good day.